All right, what's up, everybody? Episode 3 of Goons Clout Gallery. I still got to get used to the name.
We're speculating it's number 3.
Yeah, we think it's number 3 because we've got a couple in the can, so we think it's number 3. And this episode, we're going over our top 10 favorite wrestlers. Not the best. The best would be a totally different list, I think.
Yeah, for sure. For me, it would.
I think there'd be a lot of different names because a lot of these, at least I know on my list, a lot of it is just gimmicks and shit that I really liked, wrestler wise.
Yeah, there's probably 5 on my list that wouldn't even be in the discussion of top 10 of all time if we were doing greatest ever or whatever. Yeah. But on my favorite list, they're on there.
Jared Savage will be joining us eventually. He had to run some errands, so he'll hop on, and when he hops on, we'll go through his to wherever we're at on the list, and then we'll continue from there. And I've got some honorable mentions because my list was pretty crazy, and I couldn't figure out where to place anybody, so we've got that. So I'll just kick it off. Number 10, I was telling Mike before we went live, I put this one on the list simply because my favorite growing up, I didn't like anybody else, Hulk Hogan. I had to put him at number 10. Modern, I don't like him so much anymore now that I'm adult and I know what he was like back then and how much of an asshole he was backstage. But he's really one of the greatest to ever do it. Wrestling wouldn't be what it is without Hulk Hogan. And in the 90s, the mid 90s, he was everywhere. He was in all types of movies, surf ninjas. He had action figures everywhere. So it was hard to escape him. I remember even when as a kid, I used to drink his stupid little workout shakes that he had. I remember my dad made it, and it tastes like garbage. It was because it's eggs and all kinds of nasty shit. But yeah, Hulk Hogan. You had to go Hulk Hogan at some point on this list, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was a Hulkamaniac all fucking day, dog. I'm not gonna sit here in front. Then around '93, I was like, "Fuck him." Then in '96, I liked him again.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I was definitely a Hulkamaniac growing up. You talk about the workout shake you were drinking. I had the Hulk Hogan workout set, which came with the sweatband and the 2 Hulk Hogan barbells and shit. I had that for sure. I think I was 5.
I had the big Hulk Hogan, where you pull the string and he used action figure thing.
Yeah, those are actually considered Hasbro's. Those are worth quite a bit of money.
I don't know where the hell it is now, but that thing was probably my favorite one I had at the time.
Like Mike said, I kind of got tired of them by 92, 93, 94. Say your prayers and vitamins and all that shit. It kind of, you got grunge taking over and fucking everything was going extreme. So Hulk Hogan had to figure out a way to go extreme himself, and he knocked it out of the park with Hollywood Hogan. I love that fucking character. I like his work as Hollywood more than I do as Hulk.
So do I.
See, I've talked about this before. I hated that shit, bro.
Oh my god!
When I was a kid, I hated that shit because I've said this before. I was not a fan of any heels when I was young. The cheating shit pissed me off. That's what made me stop watching wrestling. It's when there was cheating every single fucking match.
I remember.
I turned that shit off. I was like, fuck this shit.
Dating back to the first grade, kids would be like, "You like Mr. Perfect? He's a bad guy." I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I like Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, talking about Mike's 6-year-old talking about his work rate and shit.
Yeah, so my number 10, Hulk Hogan. Childhood favorite by far.
Yeah, I love Hulk.
Yeah, what's yours, Mike? Number 10.
Number 10, man. I don't know if people know who he is, but this is a fucking legend in Japan, man. He's on my list, man. Kenta Kobashi. Do your Googles, man. Part of the 4 pillars with, Mitsuharu Misawa, Kawada, and Teyu. Dude's chops are fucking worse than Flair's and Benoit's. This dude puts niggas on their knees, bro, with them chops, And if you want some matches to watch, you can watch any Kobashi versus Misawa match from 93, 94, 95. All Japan Pro Wrestling in the 90s was fucking beautiful. It's hard to get, but on YouTube, I got a playlist of all the AGPW matches that I enjoy, and there's a lot of Kobashi shit on there. So, yeah, number 10 is Kenta Kobashi, man.
Yeah, the only Japanese wrestling I think I ever saw growing up was from Stranglemania. You know what I mean?
Word.
Like that was the only. That's like the only access you ever had.
Yeah,
back then
I grew up an East Coast kid, WWF all day, right? WCW too. Later on in life, but when a teenager is like, my uncle is like a fucking indie mark. He's all about the Japanese shit. So when I got into Kenta Kobashi, I'm like, yo, this dude is like the Japanese Bret the Hitman Hart. You know what I'm saying? Mixed with like Ric Flair type of. His in-ring work is just impeccable. You know? So chef's kiss to Kobashi, bro. I could be all here. I'll just end it there because I can go all night about it.
I really started learning about them dudes whenever, like, 2002 or so, the guys that were in IWA Mid-South, like Daniel Bryan was there, CM Punk, Chris Hero, they went over and fought them dudes. Yeah, and that's where I really learned about them dudes and how good they were.
Chris Hero does those Masawa fucking forearms, you know?
Yeah. I think it's Masawa that detached the retina from Daniel Bryan. He hit him so hard with a forearm.
Oh,
it was one of those Japanese wrestlers. He detached his retina. He hit him so hard. Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Those boys don't play, bro. Like,
they're stiff
shit out of you.
Yeah, they're stiff as fuck. I don't know who it is, but there was a guy. Bill Burr did commentary for it. It was fucking hilarious. It was like this big, goofy-looking motherfucker. I don't even know who the wrestler was, and he was wrestling like this classic Japanese, like chiseled chin motherfucker. I know what you're
talking about.
He beats the shit out of him.
Because the fat nigga didn't want to work. He didn't want to work.
Yeah, he was acting like a clown. He was acting like a clown, like goofing up.
He fucking smacked him, booted him in the face, and fucking
started kicking him while he's on the ground in his head and shit. I'm like, oh shit. Well, look up the Bill Burr version. It's fucking
so funny.
It's so funny.
Inoki's who fucked up Muhammad Ali as well, right?
Yeah.
They had a match and he didn't pull no shit and he ended up fucking up Muhammad Ali's knee. Like Muhammad Ali was never the same boxing after that match because he kept fucking him up, kept taking him down and fucked his knees up.
Yeah, I guess the point is that Japanese wrestlers don't fucking play. Like when you watch, they throw stiff shit, man. Like
and if you don't sell, bro, like they're gonna fuck you up.
Yeah. Well, with deathmatch like pretty much originating in Japan, I don't think that's really nothing you really need to say. But yeah.
I'm moving on to my 10 spot now. We already talked about him a little bit. CM Punk. I think he's probably the most modern wrestler that'll be on my list. His world title run that he had where he held it for over 100 days, I didn't think we'd ever see that type of title reign again. He was dominant. He showed that he could work as a heel or a face. Then you go back to his work before he really blew up. I thought the Straight Edge Society was one of the coolest fucking heel factions to come along in the last 30 years. He started riots with that shit. Like on house shows, he got to be a little bit more mouthy and challenge people in the crowd. What the shit he couldn't do on TV. He was starting fucking riots at house shows with that gimmick. That's how good it was. That's 1980s heat.
Yeah. I always liked the. I think he did that. Didn't he do the shave my head match with Rey Mysterio? Wasn't that?
Yep.
Yeah, I always liked that match too.
Then speaking of being old school 80s, after he got beat and had to shave his head, he started coming out with a mask. So people wouldn't see his shaved head. That was straight 1980s Memphis shit right there.
Yeah. Well, apparently he's done that even a couple times after he's retired. He did a couple run-ins where he was wearing it. He did run in with a mask on and shit.
Yeah, he ran in.
Fucking ill. Oh.
There wasn't anything that he sucked at. Like he was good at everything. He was good on the mic. He was good in the ring. He was good at making his own angles. He was especially good at whenever he turned heel or face or had a character change. He would always change his facial hair or his hairstyle to where he would look different. He's brought that up on podcasts that he thought that was something that you needed to do to really make your turn effective. And he always did that. And they even put him at the announcing booth one time. He's the best fucking announcer WWE had in the last 10 years. Whenever he was announcing, he was fucking great.
Yeah, he did the backstage stuff for a little bit too. More recently, before that show was canceled. I don't remember what the hell they called it because I don't really watch too much modern WWE. But
I mean, he likes punk rock, which I love. He said it's clobbering time. Some fantastic four thing shit.
Straight up checking his watch and shit.
I fucking love that nigga since 2006, bro. Like, he's ill. I love CM Punk.
He writes comic books now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My uncle's telling me,
Yeah.
It's one of the things he's doing since he retired.
His pipe bomb promo is pretty much legendary.
Legendary, yep.
Yeah. So my number 9, he was slightly mentioned earlier. Mr. Perfect.
Oh man,
He has probably my favorite promos of any wrestler I've ever seen. Like throwing the football, catching the football, you know. His promo with against the Ultimate Warrior is so fucking good. He's like, you know, if I got any one problem, it's that I'm too perfect. And it's just so
spitting the gum, smacking that shit.
Yeah.
Throwing the towel over his back and catching it perfectly every time.
There's some smooth ones. I think it was it Ted DiBiase behind him or somebody like perfectly fucking caught that shit?
Bobby the Brain Heenan, whenever he was managing him, he would do it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, and he was an amazing wrestler as well. Like he had his promo skills are on point, his wrestling was on point. His the suplex was the perfect. Oh fuck, bro. So good. Man,
remember when he perfect plexed the Giant in WCW? That's one of the most impressive things I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah. Kurt Hennig.
The most beautiful drop kick I've ever seen in my life.
His salesmanship as well. You tell Dolph Ziggler studies the tapes of Kurt Hennig because he sells just like him.
Yeah. Mr. Perfect. He's also like I said, I didn't like heels when I was a kid, so he's like somebody who like I've grown to appreciate. You know what I mean? As I've gotten older, especially the promos.
Oh yeah. All right. My number 9, the last wrestler from Japan, everybody. So you can, don't get mad, but Mitsuharu Misawa, man. Misawa, bruh. Like he was Tiger Mask 2 before he became, Misawa, and he did the Tiger Drive in '91. He made that famous, If you have Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, he's in that game. It's a N64 game, a Japan-only game. But if you screw a back off a shitty title you don't like, you can put it on there and play it on your system without it getting modded. But, yeah, Misawa's the man, bro. Like, those fucking forearms we talked about earlier, his matches with Kawada, Kabashi, Vader even. Good matches with Vader, Stan Hansen, motherfucking Akira Akiyama, fucking, I can go on. But Misawa was a god. He passed away in the ring, back in like 2009, I think it was, somewhere around there, 2010. But dude was a fucking god, and he's my number 9, man. Mitsuharu Misawa, legend.
I think Chris Hero was in the ring with him when that happened, because I've heard Chris talk about it. He was either in the ring in that match or he was on the show, but he said that it was comparable to like Derek Jeter dying at a Yankees game. That's how big that dude was. The Japanese baseball. He was like looked at as the captain.
Yeah, my dude knows what's up.
I'll go ahead and move it up to my 9 spot. I don't know if a lot of people even really know much about this guy. He's just returned to wrestling. He was the number 1 pick in the MLW draft. Davey Richards. He's a former Ring of Honor champion.
I know
former tag member with Eddie Edwards and the American Wolves. He's the last wrestler that I really dug. You talk about the Japanese style, how we dug it. He did American Strong style. He brought that back in 2011. He kind of mixed MMA with wrestling, and I got to see him live when they were doing the Ring of Honor TV tapings in Louisville. They were doing it at the OVW Arena for a while, and the velocity that he kicked and chopped people with, it sounded like you were at an MMA fight. Like he was just fucking killing people, and he could go all day. He was a machine. He reminded me of Chris Benoit and Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, they remind me of the Bulldogs too. Like definitely, yeah. Those dudes are
he actually went. He wrestled in Japan, and the promoter dude named him Pegasus Jr. He was so much like Benoit.
That's fire.
Oh yeah.
I'm familiar. I would have to see him though to like recognize who you're talking about.
Yeah, he never had like a big run or anything in any of the big leagues. He was on TNA. He's pretty much the biggest thing he's been on.
Okay. Oh, I watched the indies for like right before AEW started. I watched the indies like religiously because that was when the indies. That's when the indies were hot, bro. Like everybody was running around from here to there. Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks were running all over the place. Pentagon was all over the place. It was crazy.
Yeah, Richards retired right before that. He really missed. He had bad timing on that shit.
Yeah, that was really bad timing because that was like when shit was hot.
It was nasty.
Yeah. All right, my number 8. It's kind of a crime that he's this high up, but some will say he was the best there ever was. Bret Hart. Bret Hart. I mean, I don't really have to say anything else, bro. He's legendary. Everybody knows it. And the reason, actually, one of the reasons why he's always been one of my favorites is I've talked about this before. One of the first wrestling matches I ever remember watching was Bret Hart versus Jerry the King Lawler, the Kiss My Foot match.
That shit was hilarious.
Yeah, I run in the VHS. I don't remember why. I think maybe that was the match that caught my eye. It was like, what the fuck is it? You know, what the hell is that? But yeah, that match is so hilarious. Jerry the King Lawler like putting his feet in like horse shit and like coming to the ring and his feet were stinking, and then Bret Hart like pushes his face into his own feet and shit. Like it's so good, you know. And if you've never seen his promo, I can't remember who it's against, but he like he's ripping on somebody and he shows them action figure of The Simpsons, and then he plays the clip of him on The Simpsons. I can't remember who it is, but it's so fucking funny.
That match is actually what responsible for bringing Kane to WWF. The Kiss My Foot match, if you remember afterwards, Jerry Lawler said he had to go to the dentist because of how funky his foot was whenever Bret made him kiss it. And his dentist was Isaac Yankem, aka Kane.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really? That's cool. That's a cool little connection. I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, you're talking about a little bit about the promos, and Jerry Lawler had some promos that would not be allowed on TV these days.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
oh my God.
He still says some stuff that's when he's announcing, sometimes he still says stuff where you're like, can he say that?
That 97 Goldust promo, I'm not gonna repeat it. But
I was going to, or at least repeat as much as I could. He's like, then you got Dustin Rhodes. You don't know why his father, Old Dust, don't love him anymore because you run around the ring kissing men like a flaming, you know what? He said that on Raw. It's on the network still. It's on the network still.
I'll say this: neither one of these are on my list, but it goes along with that. It was the Goldust versus Roddy Piper, like backstage brawl.
Oh my God!
One of my favorite matches. They were really close to being on my list, but like that's like one of those things where, you know, they're having a field day on the announcement team.
Piper legit is punching that nigga too. Like,
yeah,
broke his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
so that was my number 8, Bret Hart.
All right. My number 8, the motherfucking Texas Rattlesnake, bro. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve
Yep.
Austin.
Now,
I wish I had sound effects so I could like do the glass break.
the glass break. Now I knew who he was way back because I watched WCW in the early '90s and I seen he was stunning Steve Austin in the Dangerous Alliance. Didn't really like him then. Then he came in '96 as the Ringmaster. Didn't like him then either. I started liking him when he was with DiBiase, becoming Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know what I'm saying? Like the fucking strap match with Savio Vega at WrestleMania 12. Then slowly, when he jumped Pillman, I was like, this nigga's ill. He calling out Brett, saying, put an S in front of that, and that's what I think about him. S in front of Hitman, that's what I think about him. It's just talking mad shit.
Yeah, I don't remember when I don't think I became aware of him until like he started to get a little bit bigger. Yeah. Because I was like pretty heavy into WCW around that time.
Yeah.
And so like I was one of those channel flippers, like but I mostly stayed on WCW. But I think I do remember like the first time I saw him, I was immediately thinking of the Sandman from ECW because they have like a very similar like attitude and kind of gimmick and shit. Obviously Stone Cold perfected that shit. Oh, yeah. But my favorite thing with Stone Cold was always the feud he had with Vince McMahon. Like that was what put him on like another level for me.
Yeah. When it became super mark was WrestleMania 13 submission match with Bret the Hitman Hart, man. Like fucking the blood pouring down his face. He's fucking just trying to get out of it and just passes out. Yeah. And that same year, 97, I got the Austin 316 shirt. I thought I was the baddest nigga in 5th grade. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man.
you can make the case that match is what eventually won the war with WCW and why WWE is still in business is that fucking match, because everybody became a Stone Cold fan after that match. And the funny thing is Vince didn't want them to use blood. So they had to do it. They had to like do it kind of sneaky. They told Vince it was accidentally, but he actually did. He did blade himself, but they convinced Vince that it was a blade job, so they didn't get fined. So Vince if they'd have listened to Vince, he may have cost himself that entire war with WCW if they'd have listened to him. There's so many
funny things like that where like so and so didn't want this, that. We were just talking about it with ICP and like if they had got Slash for the music video and shit. Like there's so many funny like oversights where people are like, oh no, you can't do that, and they do it anyway, and it makes it the thing that it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's what actually makes it special. Mike was talking about whenever he broke into Brian Pillman's house, he was throwing his friends into that kiddie pool and shit. Like there was like a 2-3 month run there in '97 that Stone Cold was must see TV on Raw. I remember one time it was whenever he had beaten up one of the Hart Foundation members, and they put him in the back of an ambulance, and then they show the driver sitting there. He's sitting there facing the outside. He turns around. He's like, we're going straight to hell, Brett. I'm driving us straight to hell. And takes his hat off and starts beating the shit out of him again. Like he was just on fire in '97 and became an icon.
'98 is his year on the championship. Or '97 is my favorite era. Grimy shit, you know.
It was when he was still a little bit of a heel. He was still heel instead of just being face straight up. He was still kind of in between. He's a tweener, as Tracy Smothers would call him.
And his home video, because Stone Cold said so, was hilarious, bro. That shit was fire. You know, every era of Austin I enjoyed damn near. You know,
Stone Cold is like the second coming of Hulk Hogan. Like he was the next guy who revolutionized wrestling from that point on. And you could argue that Stone Cold is still that guy. There hasn't been a guy since Stone Cold that's taken over like that. Maybe CM Punk, but that's, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely, there's been nobody that's been able to make wrestling blow up like he did in the mainstream. You think about whenever Austin had blown up, and you're talking like 1999, 2000, there's wrestling shirts in every fucking store. Being a wrestling fan growing up, I could only get wrestling shirts when I went to the actual WWF events and bought them from the gimmick table.
Yeah.
But in 1999, I'm talking they had them in Spencer's, they had them in Hibbett Sports, Foot Locker, JCPenney's. Like you had wrestling everywhere. Even ECW, which was just a local Philadelphia company, had T-shirts in Spencer's gifts in 1999. Yeah. That's how much fucking wrestling blew the fuck up.
Yeah. And you walk through the motherfucking hallways, you see a sea of wrestling T-shirts, bro. It was lit. But yeah, 8 Stone Cold Steve Austin, man, one of the best ever.
Moving to my 8 spot now. This dude really influenced how I wrestled whenever I was wrestling in the Indies, because I just always enjoyed every match I ever seen with him. Chris Benoit,
bruh.
We talk about how those Japanese matches seemed real, like it's just a different level. His matches were always a different level, even in WCW. You could just tell that he was out there hitting harder, moving faster, jumping higher, he just took everything from level 10 to Spinal Tap 11. That's why I really enjoyed everything he did. He was only like 5'10", but you could see him go out there against the Giant, and you could believe that he could fucking knock the Giant down and work with the Giant and beat the Giant, even though he's a foot and a half shorter, just because of the persona he had and just how intense he was at all times.
I was about to say the intensity level with him was like off the charts, bro. He had like that stare where you're like, oh fuck, like I'm gonna go across the street, bro.
that reminds me of the story that Violent J always talks about. Whenever Chris Benoit was cutting that promo in the promo room, there's like a little promo room they had in WCW, and Chris Benoit, who doesn't like cutting promos anyways, is in there cutting a promo, and Vampiro knocks on the door real fucking loud and dips, and Chris Benoit comes out and Jay's just standing there. Jay said he's never been more scared in his life. That's just how intense fucking Chris Benoit's eyes were. He's like, his eyes told me he was going to kill me if I didn't run.
That match with Liger, Starrcade 95.
Yeah.
So fire. 96.
WrestleMania, the WrestleMania 20 main event with him versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. One of my favorite matches. It's hard to have a good 3-way match, and that's the best one that's ever went down, in my opinion. Everybody was crisp. That was a great fucking match. And then what really made me a fan of them is because I got to see one of these matches in person. I went to it was May 1998 Nitro in Evansville, and every fucking match sucked. Like Goldberg fought some dude like named Johnny Attitude. Chris Jericho fought El Dandy. Hogan and none of the big names were there because Evansville's this really small town. It's called like a B town, so none of the big names were there. The only good match on that fucking whole show was one of the best of 7 series between Booker T and Chris Benoit, and they went out there in Evansville and wrestled like they were fucking wrestling at WrestleMania. So I became a fan of those two dudes instantly because of that.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was Starrcade '95. I had to check. Liger and Benoit, fire.
Yeah, I mean Liger. Anything Liger wrestles in is going to be. He makes those are. There's a lot of unsung wrestlers where like they make the other guy look good, like no matter what. And a lot of times, like you find out who's like somebody's wrestling with somebody for so long, and you think that guy's really good, but it's because other people have carried him for so fucking long. Liger is one of those dudes that can make anybody look good.
I go back to they knew that so well in WCW. That was the first match they ever put on Nitro was Liger versus Brian Pillman because they knew that match would be fucking phenomenal, and it was.
All right, so my number 7 is DDP.
Oh shit!
Bang!
Bang!
One of my dude. When he turned on NWO, that shit, bro, if you watch that clip on YouTube, the crowd goes fucking insane, bro. That shit was so... Shakes his hand. Whew, diamond cutter on his ass, bro. Unfortunately, his WWE run was pretty shitty, but like getting into wrestling when he was as old as he was and to be as good and like as popular as he became...
He was literally driving the Honky Tonk Man down the ring. I think it was WrestleMania 6. It's just like a manager. Yep. He was always just been a manager, dude. And then all of a sudden in 1997, he's one of the best fucking workers in the business. You talked about when he turned on the NWO, when he acted like he was going to join in the diamond cut at Scott Hall. The other thing that really sticks out that made him a superstar to me is whenever he dressed up as La Parka and fought the Macho Man on Nitro, and Macho Man didn't know it was fucking La Parka, so he was kind of like fucking around with him, and then all of a sudden fucking La Parka diamond cuts him, takes the mask off, and pins him. Man, that fucking building erupted. There was a star was born that fucking night, thanks to Randy Savage being super fucking cool too.
Yeah. DDP tells that story about backstage because Macho Man wanted him to do that. Like Macho Man wanted to take the diamond cutter. Like DDP always talks about how cool Macho Man was and how much Macho Man wanted to give him a push because he really believed in DDP.
Macho Man's matches with him is what put him on the map. That's those Spring Stampede era matches back in early 97 and 98. Yeah, that's what put him on the map. And it's because Savage was cool enough to let a dude that used to be a manager fucking look like he could hang in the ring with him.
Halloween Havoc 97, that match. Jesus Christ. One of their best ones. Page is so fucking cool too, bro. Like his swag is ill.
I also really like it's a corny it's like a corny gimmick match, but when he teamed up with
Karl Malone,
that was cool too. I remember that was one of the few pay-per-views I remember getting. Like I don't think I paid for it, but I had it somehow. I don't fucking know, bro. I think my friend recorded it or some shit, but that was one of the few I had back in the day. It was cool because I was a big basketball fan too.
I was gonna say Dennis Rodman was my favorite player, so I was super into that angle.
Same, bro.
Yeah, straight up.
Love
one of the things that lets me know how good Diamond Dallas Page is everybody knows how bad Goldberg is in the ring. Yeah. Goldberg's best match is with Diamond Dallas Page at Halloween Havoc. I think it was 99 or maybe 2000. The best match Goldberg's ever had is with DDP, and that tells you how good DDP is to make that fucking dude look good in the ring. And it wasn't a 5-minute match. It went like 20. And he made that dude look like a fucking wrestler. So ever since I seen that match, I was like, DDP knows how to fucking work.
And also, he gets major points for bringing back Scott Hall, bringing back Jake Roberts.
Yes.
That shit will make a grown man cry. That Jake Roberts, the resurrection of Jake Roberts documentary. Oh, man.
Dude
so
came
crazy.
Out to a rendition of Team Spirit. The dude.
Yeah.
his the way he walked, his promo, dude was fire, bro.
Yeah.
That shirt he had when he first got popular was super dope. It was that diamond with the DDP. Yeah.
Fire, yeah.
That was big back then, having a big wrestling shirt in '98, because seeing all your shirts in the audience is really what made Austin, is what allowed Austin to get that push, is because they kept selling out 316 shirts. So if you had a good shirt back in the day, that was definitely a big plus for you. And DDP had a kick-ass one.
Yeah, like I said, it's like what I was talking about when he turned on NWO. This is a side thing, but man, when you watch the crowds back then, the pops were unreal, man.
Yes.
Like, crazy. Like everybody's throwing up the fucking diamond cutter in the crowd and shit.
Yep.
Like, oh man.
He point at them and then they'd all come up in like a wave, like at a baseball game. It's dope, man. He come out through the crowd because he's the people's champion.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah. Number 7, DDP.
Fucking God.
Jersey Triad was dope too. I was a huge Jersey Triad mark.
Oh man,
him Canyon and Bam Bam. That was dope, man.
I was gonna mention the Canyon thing where he was like Diamond Cutter and everybody. Like he'd go through Diamond Cutter everybody. And shit.
Canyon was ill, flatline.
Yeah, Mortis.
I was about to say Mortis is so underrated, bro. Like,
Mortis and Wraith were dope as fuck. I was a huge mark for them. They were always like the first match on Nitro. And they were always feuding with Ernest the Cab Miller and Glacier.
Yeah, Glacier was ass, but I was fucking with Raph since Adam Bomb, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He was even. I was even a mark for him in Chronic whenever it was him and fucking Crush. They were fucking dope. Even he never got over with Vince for some reason. Never got a push.
Yeah, and he was like. Didn't Vince have him as like the stalker dude or some stupid?
Nah, that was Wyndham. That was so fucking stupid.
Okay, yeah.
Are you talking about DDP?
Yeah.
That's how DDP came into WWE. He was stalking Undertaker's wife.
Yeah.
But Barry Windham had the name the Stalker.
The Stalker was Barry Windham. Yeah.
Put him in fucking camos and sneakers. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here, bro?
So stupid. Guy like DDP, shit, man.
Yeah, anyway, for having to be a stalker. Vince likes to take whatever you're known as and totally flip it on its head, something opposite, and see if he can get that over himself. Because he don't want to try. He don't want to. If DDP goes out there and gets over like DDP, then Vince can't say it was his. If he totally changes DDP is what everybody knows DDP as, and then he gets over, Vince can say, "Hey, I called that one, buddy."
Yeah.
Pal.
That's like everything, bro. Movies and everything else. They want to change a little thing, like, I tweaked this for the movie. People are like, why'd you change that from the original? Everybody
just so you could fucking boast that you changed something.
Yeah, so stupid. All right, Mikey, number 7, bro.
All right, number 7, man. Charlotte, North Carolina's own, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, bro. Flair's a god to me. My favorite era of Flair is the 80s. Yeah, that's his
match against Steamboat. Right?
Dog, all 3 of them shits.
Yeah.
What was it Wrestle War, the Chi-Town Rumble, and fucking
Clash? I think
Clash. Yeah. I can watch some shits all fucking day, bro. Yeah. Like, dudes, amazing. The promos, the fucking in-ring ability, the Horsemen. Even in the fucking 90s, I love them, bro. You just get under the motherfucking babyface's skin,
Yeah.
The picture with Elizabeth and Randy's going fucking ape shit.
I've told this story before, but when I told this story before when I was tricked about thinking something was real.
Yeah.
When Ric Flair had that heart attack on, I think it was on Raw. I don't remember what it was.
That was Nitro, I think.
He's running around the ring it might have been Nitro. He's like running around the ring. He's turning real beet red. So I'm like in your head, you're thinking like, damn, bro, like he's getting worked up. And then like when he has the heart attack, they bring out the stretcher and all that. And I'm like, oh shit, he really had a heart attack.
Yeah, man, dude was amazing, bro.
And like something we haven't mentioned, his fucking blading.
Oh my god,
that dude would butcher himself. He would bleed to death in the ring, to the point that people that would bleed a lot, like Dusty Rhodes, was like, dude, you got to stop cutting yourself so goddamn much.
But what's funny is he didn't have like the bladed look that a lot of motherfuckers do. He had that like chopped up. Like he must have healed really well.
All that alcohol that he drinks just keeps him pickled.
Flair be partying, Jesus Christ. Yeah, man. Dude was ill.
Another guy with amazing promos. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
One of the best.
Even later in life, I loved him. Like with Evolution, he was fucking dope. He's hilarious too. You know, like
the picture where he's sitting with all the Yeezys. You ever see that where Kanye sent him a bunch of Yeezys? And
yeah.
Sitting back
the rap game loves Flip.
Oh yeah,
about him, you know?
Straight up. Him and Jay Lethal and TNA is some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. When Jay Lethal was doing the impression back to him. I've heard Jay Lethal tells the story on some podcast. It might have been Coke Cabanas, but he's talking about how Flair was literally cracking up backstage when they were practicing and still cracking up in the ring, that it was so spot on. And he said like every time that Flair would bring somebody new to TNA to the backstage to let them meet the wrestlers and shit, the first person he'd go to would be Jay Lethal. He'd make him do the impression. He was such a fan of it.
Jay Lethal's Macho Man was also really good.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
And I have to say, my favorite Royal Rumble of all fucking time, 1992.
Flair wins the strap.
Yes. With a Tirama,
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking Mean Gene. Put that out. Dude smoking a cigarette. But yeah,
probably the biggest tragedy in wrestling history is Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair not facing off at that WrestleMania that year.
Yeah. It was Sid instead.
Yeah, and then Macho Man and Flair had a match that stole the entire show, of course.
Great match.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so number 7, Nate, all day.
Move it up to my 7th spot. Another dude is pretty. We got a lot of WC. I think you can tell we watched a lot of Nitro and shit and some Thunder. There's a lot of WCW guys on our list, keeping it there. Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. I'm literally a fan of Michigan college sports because they wore that Michigan jacket, and I thought you had to go to Michigan to be a professional wrestler. Whenever I see it when I was like 5, I was like, that must be the college that you go to be professional wrestlers, because that's where they went. Yeah. So even back then, I was a huge fan of him. I got to see him live here in Owensboro when he was doing the Memphis stuff before he even hit WCW, and he was just a different level then. If you go, you can actually go back and search CWA 1989 full show, and he's on some of those shows, and they're on YouTube. You can watch the whole show, and he's just different than everybody else. Like everybody else, then they did an arm drag, a fucking bulldog, maybe a body slam, and a back body drop. You got Scott Steiner in '89 coming in doing the fucking Frankensteiner, fucking power bombing people, butterfly power bomb, just making them do it. These guys aren't helping them at all. He's literally just like 22, 23 years old. He jacked as hell coming out of Michigan wrestling and just throwing these old, like 40-year-old, 300-pound dudes around against their will. It's so funny to watch. Like a lot of those dudes just stopped wrestling. If they seen that they had Scott Steiner on the card, they would just dip. They didn't want no piece of that dude.
The Steiner driver, bro.
Scott Steiner at number 1. That's pretty crazy.
He was the first one doing the Frankensteiner.
Yeah.
He brought that into America. He started doing it over in Japan, and that was Steiners are probably my favorite tag team overall, and that's before even getting into his Big Papa Pump shit, where all of a sudden,
3 for me.
See, the Big Papa Pump for me was when I really started to look, because before they were kind of like the Revival is now, like they're like technical, all that.
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
And when he started doing the Big Papa Pump stuff was when I started like him, like when he was with Buff Bagwell and shit.
Yep. That's what made it stand out so much to me, is because here you have Scott Steiner, who's been around for 10 years and has showed zero personality ever. And then he dyes his hair blonde, starts looking like fucking superstar Billy Graham, and all of a sudden he's got charisma level 10.
Yeah,
his promos were can't miss. Whenever they were letting him,
we can't.
His promos were fucking incredible in WCW.
Yeah, we got to talk about the TNA one where
where he gets the math wrong.
Yeah, it's like 33% chance of beating this, but when you add this,
not his brightest days was in WWE, but when he debuted at Survivor Series 02. He fucking beats up Nowinski and Matt and goes, "Get the fuck out of the ring."
That dude had so many steroids raging through his body back then. He just didn't give a fuck.
No.
Gosh. Yeah.
And the scary thing was he didn't give a fuck, and he's an elite college wrestler who could do whatever the fuck he wanted to anybody in that fucking ring.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he was crazy.
I love Steiner, bro.
What was his saying? Something about all my freaks out there, or some shit. What was it?
Something about his freaks and his peaks.
Yeah, something about that. My peeps and my freaks, or something like that.
Big Papa Pump is your hookup. Holla if you hear me.
Oh man, I love WCW. Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner, man, that shit was so dope.
Yeah, WCW Scott Steiner, like Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, was the reason to watch WCW then.
Yeah, I think like I said, I didn't like.
T.
I think back then I even said I didn't really like NWO, but for whatever reason I like Big Papa Pump because he was fucking hilarious.
Some of my favorite action figures ever was those Galoob Steiner brothers, bro.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because his figure was actually good. You could do shit with it. Like one arm was doing that, and then one arm was coming down, so you could do whatever the fuck you want with them. Unlike we talked about Lex Luger, who's just stuck like that.
I hated that.
And even worse one was Ron Simmons. He just had that, and his arm was stuck there. Yeah, fuck, you couldn't do nothing with that fucking figure.
And he had like purple jogging pants on. Where's this? Where's this Doom attire, bro? Come on.
They talked about that on the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. They didn't bring their ring gear to the pictures.
Yeah.
They went to they had to show up to take pictures, and they didn't bring their ring gear. They thought they were just taking like headshots or something. So they're literally just wearing like what they wore to the fucking studio to get their pictures. They got Nike shoes on, even like Butch Reed's fucking shit got Nikes on them.
Yeah, but the only moves I'm missing too is Doom. That's all I'm missing. And
yeah. See, I love that fucking Butch Reed figure back in the day. He was like a main eventer in my Fed, but fucking Ron Simmons, I could never do anything with that fucking figure, so I didn't even ever use him. He was like Butch Reed's fucking manager, because you couldn't do shit with somebody just stuck like that though. Then what the fuck's he gonna do?
Right?
Put the little belt on his arm, you know?
Yeah, straight up, he was good at holding Butch Reed's belt.
But yeah, I like Scott better when he was in the Steiners, but I still love Papa Pump. But if I was to pick a favorite era, it would be him and Rick.
Oh, you see, I didn't even really. I obviously watched him when he was like when they were a tag team, but like you said, there really wasn't much personality. It was like if you like technical wrestling, they were to go to. But
he wrestled so much better when he was with the mullet.
Oh yeah.
He was funny as fuck as Big Papa Pump.
The Steiner screwdriver is still the craziest move I've ever seen in wrestling.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Fuck a Canadian Destroyer. It doesn't even really hurt to take. It hurts to do to giving it more than it does taking it. You fuck Steiner screwdriver is scary as shit, man. I wouldn't take that shit unless it was Scott Steiner doing it and knew it, and I would try. Like 1989, Scott Steiner was so strong he could do it. Remember the shit where he would get him, he would catch him in like a fall away slam. You know how like Scott Hall would do the last call where he'd have guys like that and throw them over his head? Fucking Scott Steiner would have the dudes like that and do a backflip and splash them while holding the guy. How you do a goddamn backflip holding somebody?
He was fucking jacked then too. It's like
fucking crazy, man. He was a freak. Him and Brock Lesnar are probably the two like most athletic freaks that have ever been in wrestling.
Well, his finishing move was like the camel clutch, right?
Steiner recliner.
Yeah, Steiner recliner. Yeah.
He did it a lot more vicious than the camel clutch.
Oh,
he literally just pulled. Like he's trying to pull motherfucker's head off.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. All right. So my number 6 is the only really modern wrestler on my list. At least started modern. Obviously, some of these guys are still wrestling. Pentagon Jr.
Oh hell yeah.
Zero Miedo, bro. I found him in Lucha Underground because I used to watch Lucha Underground all the time.
I'm gonna take a piss. I'll be back.
Yeah, you're good. And then like when he did the match against Vampiro, like the hardcore match against Vampiro, shit was wild.
He's got a dope look too, which we were talking about how important a t-shirt is. A dope look for a luchador is everything. Like Super Kello could have been the best fucking wrestler in the world, but with that stupid ass mask he had, where he had like a fedora fucking hat and some glasses made onto his mask, he wasn't ever getting over. He fucking having a mask that looks dope is really fucking important. Ask Rey Mysterio. He's made his fucking whole career off of different masks and shit.
Yeah, like you said, like the mask is dope. Like he's got the whole like fit. Basically, like the whole costume, basically all set up, and like him in the Lucha Brothers tag team is that like him and Ray Phoenix are crazy together. If you haven't seen one of their matches, like I highly suggest, especially like when they were tag teaming in Impact, they had a really dope run in Impact. Pentagon had a dope run as the champion in Impact as well. Like their Canadian destroyers are absolutely insane. Ray Phoenix he's a crazy man. Like he'll dive off the fucking stage into the fucking crowd. He actually hurt the woman who runs the what the fuck's AAA. Like he dove into the ring and the woman who runs AAA was in the crowd and fucking hurt her and shit.
Oh shit, that's the wrong one to hurt.
Yeah,
the one paying the side in the checks.
I know. But yeah, Pentagon's like he's insane. His moves are crazy. His little thing where he breaks their arms and shit, the bone breaker shit. It's awesome.
Their matches are the ones that remind me of the first hour of Nitro lucha matches that used to happen back in the day. They just throw 6 random luchadors in there and give them 15 minutes to do as much cool shit as they can fucking do. That's what the Lucha Brothers reminded me of whenever, especially when they're going against like the Young Bucks or something like that, somebody that's just their same size and same amount of athleticism. It'll remind you of those late 1990 WCW luchador matches.
Yeah, I've been kind of disappointed with the run in AEW. Only because, like, I feel like they were on fire going into AEW. And then they just kind of, like, they never gave them the belts. Like, they still haven't got the belts. And I feel like that fire they had is just kind of, like, slowly. They're kind of stuck, like, in this kind of, like, mid-card situation where, like, you know, they're wrestling with Pac in the Death Triangle now. And
yeah.
I don't even think they're really in the title picture. I mean, maybe kind of, but I just like super disappointed with their run so far in AEW. But if you go back and you watch like their Impact matches, like especially when they did the matches with LAX, like that's the shit to watch. Like they had, I think, like 3 matches with LAX in different promotions. And like Conan was LAX's like manager at the time. And so Conan also has a relationship with the Lucha Brothers. And so it's like this really cool, like the whole story and everything. And it was like I was saying about the indies like a few years ago. It was like the wrestlers were making their own stories and like going to like different like promotions to tell them. It was really, really cool. Like that's my only downside to AEW is like AEW snatched up all these indie guys that were doing that shit.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like, yeah, but that was a good run.
Especially whenever you look at NXT and AEW, they've plucked the indie guys. Anybody that makes any noise immediately gets plucked up by one of those, and then you don't see them for 2 or 3 years, usually until they figure out some kind of gimmick to give them in NXT or AEW.
Yeah,
AEW's getting another show, I've heard, which they desperately need because they've got way too much talent for a 2-hour show once a week.
Yeah, well, they got Dark, but
nobody's going. Yeah, that's a YouTube show.
Yeah,
like that's not a broadcast.
There's some cool people that have gone on AEW Dark that have gotten big. Like Abaddon is somebody who was like on Dark, and then all of a sudden everybody was like, "Oh shit!" So they brought her onto the main show. They even have big guys wrestle on Dark, which I think it's like there's actually Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela on Dark was really fucking good.
Yeah. I mean, they put big stars on there, but nobody's going to pay attention to it like if it's on a broadcast, especially a primetime broadcast.
Yeah. Because I don't even watch Dark anymore. I watched the first couple, and then after that, I was like, eh.
Yeah, it's like people you don't really care to see. It's almost like a Velocity back in the day or a Sunday Night Heat for WWF. So I didn't mind missing those.
Yeah, there was that Saturday morning show, I think, for WCW, like, I don't remember what the hell it was called. It was like house shows that they ran. Where like
they had Main Event and Worldwide.
Yeah, Main Event I think is what it was called, but it was definitely not Main Event.
No,
it was just like random. They looked like house shows that they recorded because they were always very small venues.
I think it was a sound stage at like Universal Studios or something like that, and it literally be people that just want to get out of the heat of being at a theme park and come in and chill and watch wrestling for an hour, so they don't know anybody or know any of the angles or anything, and they didn't really give them much to react to anyways.
Yeah, no, I think you're right because I think it was always the same location, and it was always like really small venue. There were a decent amount of people in there usually, but it was always like C card wrestler guys. Maybe occasionally you'd see like somebody who you vaguely know come in.
You got a lot of those NWO B team members that had the different NWO music.
Yeah.
Remember, they didn't even get to come out to the same music. That was a lot of what you got on Main Event.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, Mikey, Mikey, my number 6 was Pentagon Jr.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The only modern guy I have on my list. I've got wrestlers that are currently wrestling, like obviously, but Pentagon's the new guy who pretty much just came in.
Fucking ill.
Yeah, his shit's fucking crazy. Yeah, that was my number 6. What you got, number 6, Mike?
And number 6, I have the man from Death Valley, The Undertaker.
Down. Yeah, bro.
Oh yeah. As a kid, when he was healed with Barra, I liked him until he fucking put Warrior in the casket. Like, fuck him. You can go beat up Hulk Hogan all you want. Don't touch Warrior.
That's when the Warrior like clawed out all the insides of the coffin and shit. Yeah, I was on some fuck Undertaker shit after that too. I was a big Warrior guy.
my uncle loves. That's my uncle's number 1. So he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." You know what I'm saying? But when Jake was gonna hit Elizabeth with the chair in '91 and fucking Taker grabbed it, the face turn.
Yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, I love Taker now."
Yeah, it's so funny how like big of a face Undertaker is when you think about how they debuted him in a fucking tag match, like as a heel. It's so weird, like thinking back.
Yeah. Survivor
It's
Series
weird.
1990.
It's weird to think how big of a baby face he became, because whenever we're talking about when he first debuted, kids would fucking cry and shit.
Yeah,
They would cut to like pictures of children crying in the crowd or like covering their eyes on their parents and shit. He was putting motherfuckers in body bags. Remember that?
Like, there's one tombstone against this black dude, and it's fucking look, he broke his neck. I'm like, he was destroying job guys, bro. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yo, the eyes turning white, the fucking Reaper tattoo, like
Setting up like fucking Jason and then looking and shit.
Yeah.
Like, cause I seen him in the Memphis circuit. He came to Owensboro. He was known as the Master of Pain, and he didn't have that. You know, he didn't have the Undertaker persona, and he didn't have any kind of charisma or anything. But man, he threw himself into that Undertaker character, and it became him. Like it literally, but he became the Undertaker.
Yep, I seen him as Mean Mark Callis in WCW the first time I seen him.
He's one of the skyscrapers. I was always a mark for them.
Him and Spivey, right?
Spivey, yeah. Spivey.
Yeah, he fucking he treated with Lex Luger when he was Mean Mark Callis. And then WWF, forget about it.
Sid was in the skyscrapers at one point as well. There was 3 of them. It's crazy. You got like 3 6'10", 7-foot dudes that are all jacked as shit.
Hell yeah.
Man, I'll never forget the one match that the skyscrapers had. I forgot who they were wrestling, bro. But they like the guys weren't selling or some shit. They beat the shit out of him. It was Psycho Sid, somebody else. Man, they fucked that dude up.
Yeah, if you didn't sell back in the day, they just made you sell by really fucking hitting you.
Oh yeah. My favorite era Taker, even though it's the era what people don't like, the new generation era, the purple gloves, bro. Like the look.
That's my favorite look.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But favorite era as in wrestling would be the Ministry. Probably 99.
When he had that, he was feuding with Austin at SummerSlam, that fucking SummerSlam match.
99,
I think my favorite matches from him were those 2 at WrestleMania with Shawn Michaels. Those are 2 of my favorite matches of all time. But I think like
Mick Foley, you know what I mean? Like,
oh my god,
fucking.
That was all Mick Foley though. He didn't. Let's be honest. He didn't really do a whole lot in that match. He just threw a dude off a cage and then choke slammed him.
I mean, it's like one of those matches that everybody fucking remembers. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, in terms of like match quality, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I think like Mike said, 98, 99 era, he was on the top of his game physically.
Because they always gave him some whack ass niggas like Giant Gonzalez and fucking
King Kong Bundy.
Yeah. Until like Attitude Era, that's when he got to really shine. Mankind was his first like opponent where you're like, okay, you know.
Well, that was cool because you had like 2 dark kind of guys going against one another.
That was cool whenever Paul Bearer turned on Undertaker and went with Mankind.
That surprised me.
It made Mankind so much more legit that Paul Bearer would go with him because Paul Bearer hadn't strayed from the Undertaker at that point, and you're like, holy shit. The fucking urn and Paul Bearer's while fucking Undertaker's so powerful. Now like, Mankind's got it. So it immediately made Mankind like a legit main eventer in my eyes, having Paul Bearer with him.
The first Hell in a Cell match in '97 at Bad Blood with Michaels like solidified him. You know,
those 2 had a chemistry, man. Anytime they got in a ring together, it was fucking magic.
I never liked his run as the like motorcycle dude. I don't know if there's a fucking.
I did in 02 because he was fucking hilarious when he beat up Ric Flair's son and Anderson and. But yeah, I get what you mean. I didn't like it either until like he became heel with it, you know, because he was getting dominated by fucking Angle and Big Show and Shane McMahon in like 2000. I didn't like that at all. You know?
It was almost like flashing back to, like I said, with the Master of Pain gimmick whenever he was in Memphis. There was nothing special about him whenever he was the biker dude. I mean, it wasn't even special to come out on a bike because DOA had 4 dudes that came out on a fucking bike that looked damn near identical to him anyways.
Yeah.
Facts.
If you haven't seen it, the Last Ride documentary is very, very good.
Oh shit! I gotta watch that.
Yeah,
DOA looks so much like fucking Undertaker that one of them was the actual fake Undertaker when they had that fake Undertaker, Brian Lee. Yep.
Chains, yo.
So like he's pretty much just like he joined the fucking DOA. It's like he went from fucking the Undertaker to a member of the DOA. He's like, yeah, I'm not that interested in that.
And that 92 Hasbro is so important to me. So Taker all day, bro. Number 6 for me.
Yeah, the thing about Undertaker is he was like always in character too. That's the thing about that dude. Like always. Like when he was outside of wrestling, like he wasn't like he was like stone cold fucking. He was Undertaker 24/7. You know, that's
he didn't do like meet and greets and shit. He was always and even whenever they would do the thing like when they do the 10-bell salute like they did for Brian Pillman, whenever all the wrestlers would come out on stage, Undertaker wasn't there. He was just always. He's always treated his characters so fucking good. He wasn't on social media posting pictures of him and his wife.
Yeah.
You know where Rumble 94?
That's why that documentary is so, like, it's weird because you see him talk about, like, behind-the-scenes shit and, like, how he wants to orchestrate his last match and shit. It's really fascinating to, like, actually, like, kind of get to know the guy that was Undertaker. Mark Calloway.
Yeah. Rumble 94 when Yoko and all the heels put him in the casket. I thought, like, is this nigga dead? Because I had him on the Titantron rising up.
Yeah, straight up.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, the Undertaker definitely somebody who's got a lot of fuck classic matches too. Probably the best big man in the ring. Big man I say is 6'10" and over, and I'd say he's probably the best big man in the ring.
Yeah.
Walking the ropes and shit like that shit. Always, I'm like, how the fuck does he? I still don't know how the fuck he does that like that. It's crazy.
I'll move it up to my 6th spot now. A dude is local, but he's pretty much the reason I started watching wrestling was his wrestling fucking promotion. Jerry the King Lawler. We already talked about his crazy promos. you got the classic thing with Andy Kaufman that everybody thinks about. The matches that I would suggest to watch are the Bill Dundee matches at the Memphis Coliseum that have been built up for like 2 months. And it doesn't matter. Jerry Lawler could be a heel or he could be a baby face, and they'd still sell out that building every time it was Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. They'd reverse roles, they'd tag up, they'd break up, they'd fight again, they'd reunite, they'd tag up, they'd break up, fight again. They did that shit for like 8 years and sold out the Memphis Coliseum with it. And it's wrestling that's real. It looks like a fight. It's a lot of you know, you're not going to get any hurricane ranas or anything like that. It's a lot of punches, but the fans are so into it, and both of those dudes are legendary for working really stiff. So like the punches are fucking real. It's just old school wrestling, and like I said, his promotion USWA/CWA is what got me into wrestling, and he was always the top guy because it was his fucking fed.
Yeah.
Promoters back then would do that because A, you know, you want to book yourself strong so you'd be a star and shit, and B, that those were the only wrestlers that you knew was going to be there next week and wouldn't take an offer from Vince McMahon. Which funny enough, Jerry Lawler eventually did take an offer from Vince McMahon and left.
The classic fish drop. His match with Kerry Von Erich, fucking bloody as shit.
Yeah, he's another one of those dudes that could bleed his fucking ass off. His entrances are crazy. Like the big matches, he'd come out on a horse with lights on it and shit.
Right.
You're talking like in like 84, whenever there's no PETA or anything like that. So they literally got a horse in a smoky ass fucking Coliseum, like kicking people and shit on the way to the ring. But that motherfucker just riding a fucking horse to the ring. He just celebrated. I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was his 50th year in wrestling, and he rode to the ring for that match on a horse again for the first time in a long fucking time. So I marked out for that shit. He even had a furniture store here, like because it was because Owensboro's like a run on the USWA that stopped there weekly, so he has a big name and shit. He had a furniture store here.
That's dope.
Hell yeah. It was cool to see somebody that I watched at the Sports Center every week eventually be in WWF and then be like the voice of WWF, because you got to talk about his commentating as well. I thought he was the Attitude Era, him and JR. Some of the shit that the King would come up with, the puppy shit was whack. Where he was like, he would be told to do that shit. The shit that you could tell that Vince McMahon was a fan of and would tell him to say it over and over, like that wasn't good. But the one-liners he would come up with was fucking great. Like he'd make JR start laughing on air all the time.
Yeah,
they're probably my favorite. They're probably my favorite announcement like duo.
That era. They played off each other so fucking well. You could tell they were friends. They like gave each other shots and shit.
It's funny as fuck.
Yeah, and then you get Michael Cole to fucking after that. Yeah, I think that helps make JR and King so legendary, because how bad it was afterwards. It became literally just a Vince McMahon clone saying whatever Vince told him in his ear.
I had my Uncle Bob and my cousin Brandon from Florida come down, and they're big wrestling marks, and they were saying how Michael Cole been trashed since '97. I said, I agree. You know?
Yo, Todd Pettengill was better.
Yeah. Like Michaels and H said, like we miss Todd. You know.
Speaking of Todd Pettengill, did either of y'all ever try to call into that show that him and Sonny hosted back in the day? Called Live Wire. Live Wire. Man, I tried every week because fucking Sonny was like my crush back then. So I was trying to call specifically to try to spit game at Sonny. I wouldn't even have a wrestling career. I just want to talk to Sonny.
Well, you talk to Sonny now, you might be able to.
Yeah, fuck, you do that for like $3.99 a minute on her fucking like OnlyFans or some shit now. But unfortunately, in now she looks like a truck driver.
Oh man!
In '96, she was arguably the hottest fucking chick in the world.
Yeah, I always liked Sable personally, but you know,
I was always Sonny. I like Sonny, then Marlena. I never really liked Sable. Sable always looked fake to me.
I mean, hey, she reminded me of Pamela Anderson back then. So
yeah, I was a Pamela. I dug Pamela Anderson for sure. But I always thought Deborah McMichael and Sable looked fucking like plastic Barbie doll type shit. Like you might as well fuck a fucking sex doll whenever 40% of the bitch is plastic.
Like New Jack said about Ronald, she's like, bitch, I told the bitch if she goes in the desert, there's gonna be nothing left but feet.
New Jack talking about her was funny as shit. He was saying he was gonna sell her nudes and he was gonna post them up on shit.
The bitch is nasty.
Shit.
She was fire back in like '96 though, coming out with fucking Gold Dust and shit.
Yeah.
And shit.
Yeah. They had that fucking Slammies in '97 where they had that swimsuit competition.
Yeah.
When Sable wore that one, there was just nothing but like fucking like two fucking black things over her titties.
Yeah.
But fucking Marlena looked badass in that one too. Sonny just wore a regular bikini. Like she didn't look that fucking crazy, but the other two wore like some fucking porn star shit. Like, holy fuck, this is on USA Network?
Man, they went so far back then, bro. Like they had like the lingerie matches or whatever the fuck, and like
titties be popping out and shit.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy shit back then, man.
Remember when Vince made Trish like strip and bark to keep her job in the middle of the ring?
Wow.
Yeah.
That would he'd be canceled so fucking quick.
I know. Oh gosh.
They had remember that for a portion there they had something called hot lesbian action. Remember that?
They did. Yeah.
I don't remember that one. I don't remember that, Ron.
Yeah, like a buzzer would come on the screen and said hot lesbian action and shit. And then like two chicks would come out and start dancing and making out with each other and shit.
Yeah. That shit was ratchet as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. They got fucking gnarly. They had that live sex show with fucking
Edge and Lita.
Edge told that story and he's like, I get it. He's like, we're supposed to not get excited. He's like, I'm trying to not get excited, but he's like, I'm in the fucking bed with this hot ass chick and she's nothing but her thong. He's like, by the time the cover got pulled off, he was like, I had a tent going.
Oh shit.
That's hilarious, bro.
That shit that would happen on network TV in like circa 2001 or so. That's fucking crazy.
What's funny about that is the height of WWE's ratings. Like, look where they're at now, man. Shit.
No wonder.
Yeah. Shit. All right, let's number 5. We're at number 5. We already talked. I think we're gonna start running into where we started talking about people.
Yeah.
Number 5, Stone Cold.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be on there.
Yeah.
If you're someone of our age, he pretty much made you interested in wrestling again.
Yeah, he was like we already said, he's pretty much the last super revolutionary guy that's been in wrestling. That's really changed it. I mean, maybe in the future we can look back and say Cody Rhodes, but it's too early to say that. But yeah,
he's the last wrestler to transcend from a wrestler to a pop icon. Like my dad has a Stone Cold Steve Austin poster.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Like I've seen who is it? Fucking Evil. He's got like a Stone Cold Steve Austin cutout. Like that dude was everywhere. He was like Michael Jordan. He crossed over from being the most famous wrestler to being an icon in the pop icon, pop culture.
Yep.
Yeah.
And nobody's gotten close to that since.
Not a fucking soul.
All right, Mikey, what's your number 5? Number 5.
My number 5 is Razor Ramon. Slash Scott Hall. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolute fucking brute of a man. Was he 6'8"? Just I love them as soon as I seen the fucking vignettes.
Scarface inspired.
Yeah, Scarface inspired. Vince didn't even see the fucking movie.
No, that's why I let him do it. That's why I let him do it, because he didn't know he was basically just ripping him off.
So Razor Ramon basically a fucking cocaine dealer. That was a gimmick. I'm assuming. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, he had the razor and all that shit. Like, what do you think he's doing with the razor? Come on.
His name's fucking Razor, for God's sake.
He was so fucking cool. Just fucking, the job guys would get dismantled by Razor when he was a heel, like in late 92, 93. I became a mark for him big time when he became a babyface. Against Teddy DiBiase, SummerSlam 93. Just fucking ill with it.
Then he had like the first ladder match I think ever with Shawn Michaels, right?
Televised, yeah. They stole that from Brett.
92, 93 with Michaels,
Brett, but Brett brought it from Brett. Like they had the ladder match in Calgary before Brett brought the ideal.
Dynamite, yeah.
And Brett brought the ideal and then ended up getting taken out of the match. They got televised.
But like the Scarface accent, the fucking curl, the vest, the tie was fire.
Toothpick. Throwing the toothpick in the face.
If something happens to this gold, something's gonna happen to you. All that fly shit, The
doing that shit. Like I'm not scared of you.
My little brother all the time and shit. Like
that was like
tell too. He sold really fucking well too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The Razor's Edge was one of the first really cool fucking finishing moves that wasn't like just a leg drop or a power bomb, or even Shawn Michaels just had like a back suplex back then. Like finishing moves weren't that fucking impressive. And all of a sudden you got a dude that's not only doing like a power bomb basically, which you power bomb him from here, he's lifting this motherfucker up and then dropping him like a power bomb style.
Doing this at the end, like that nigga was ill, bro. Like I love the whole Razor era. Then the moment he rocks the jeans and the jean vest and he hops over the fucking guardrail.
Hell yeah.
You know why I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Razor Ramon transitioning to Scott Hall in WCW, NWO. More.
That was on my 16th birthday. The NWO was born on the same day as I was, May 27th.
Fire. And as a kid that don't know the dirt sheets and all that, you're looking at like this nigga Razor Ramon is in WCW.
Yeah.
Yo, it was amazing, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and then WWE tried to bring back the fake ass.
That fuck dog. Talk about me. I was so fucking mad, but a little glimmer of happiness came through my heart when Hall and Nash cut a promo with 6-pack in the ring, right? And Nash goes, "The real ones are right here." I was like, yeah.
And what's so funny about that is whenever WWF announced that Razor and Diesel was going to be on Raw that next week, Eric Bischoff flipped out and gave Nash and Hall a raise in their contract because he thought they were going to appear on Raw. He thought they were going to leave them.
That's
so
wild.
they got a raise out of that fucking angle.
I thought it was some of the most pettiest fuckboy shit you could do, Vince McMahon. That was corny. And they would act like they were really Razor and Diesel.
Yeah,
that was the worst part. That was the worst part. They're trying to act like it's actually them.
Yeah,
and you're just like, no, it's clearly not them.
Indigo was a phenomenon. Like me and my boys would walk to the hallways going, you know what I'm saying? It was huge.
They made wrestling cool again for sure. And I think if they hadn't have done it the way they did it with Hall jumping out over the banister or over the guardrail, because I can't remember who it was that got credited for that on Eric Bischoff's podcast, but he was just going to come out of the fucking curtain like normal, and somebody told him, no, you can't do that. I want to say it's DDP for some reason, but I'm not sure. And they said you got to come out through the crowd to make it look like it's fucking, you just showed up, bought a ticket, now you're jumping in. And the other cool thing is the way the wrestlers in the ring reacted. They didn't fucking just go over there and get beat up by them. They didn't walk into a couple punches and then somebody take a fall away slam and a razor's edge. They like stared at him, and then one of the heels manager pulled him out, and then the other guy kind of just dips out like they didn't know what was going on. Like everybody did their job fucking really well on that shit.
It was Boa Blake of the Beverly Brothers. He was wrestling as another name then.
Mean Mike Enos.
There you go. Yeah, and Hall just like body that shit. I was like, oh my god.
Hall like stares him down, and like dude tries to acts like he's going after him, and then Colonel Robert Parker like grabs him and pulls him out. So it was like they didn't do it like you would think they would if a dude's going to show up where he just comes in and cleans the entire ring, gets his finisher in. Like it looked fucking real.
And a couple of weeks later, Nash shows up. He's like, look at the adjective, play. Classic.
Power bombs fucking Bischoff through the fucking table thing. Then he that one time when Rey Mysterio jumps off of the fucking banister of that mobile home thing, and he catches them and darts them into the side of it like a lawn dart.
That shit, and it smacked. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, number 5 for me is Razor Ramon / Scott Hall. I can't choose who I like better, like under his each gimmick, but fire, bro.
My 5 spot, I'll move it up now. Be the Macho Man, Randy Savage. And I don't think we got much you got to say about that dude.
We'll combine ours because my number 4 is Macho Man.
Dog, my number 4 is Macho Man too. Bro,
Macho Man.
Rent Money take a like once again.
So you two both got him at 4, and I got him at 5.
Yeah.
Hell yeah! I mean, one of the best wrestlers of that era. He was having matches that would be considered good matches in 2020 in 1984.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And he just stood out because of it. Everybody else was that slow, plotting Hulk Hogan, big boss man type style. And then you got Savage in there jumping over the top rope and snapping people's necks over it when he jumps over it, dropping the double fucking sledge on them from the inside to the outside. Dude was just fucking dope. And
making the elbow drop look fucking crazy, like making it look dangerous. Like
a lot of height on that bitch.
Yeah.
You talk about the elbow drop. His WCW days, he was puncturing people's lungs with it. He was hitting it so fucking hard. He punctured Charles Robinson's lung with it when he hit him with it. Because his hip was fucked up, so he was landing more on his elbow to take the fucking pain out of his hip back then. So he was killing motherfuckers with it back late in that WCW run when he was wearing like the slick back hair and shit.
I love that era.
That era was dope. He came out with like Gorgeous George and Medusa and Molly Holly, and he was still fucking wrestling like Savage. He was bigger. He was doing a little more power moves, but he was still fucking going to the top rope and dropping that fucking elbow on people and looking like he was just murdering people.
What I always loved is like when he was in the ring and like the crowd starts going crazy and he does that like wild eye like that and starts going oh man. He had like that crowd, like that presence. You know what I'm saying? It's like
charisma.
Yeah, that charisma, that presence. That like people just like when they saw him, they were like, "Oh shit!" Like he had those wild eyes and shit, you know. Like, man,
there was times where go ahead, brother.
people think about Hulk Hogan really being the one that turned WCW around when he came there in like 94 or whatever, but it kind of struggled. Even the buy rate struggled other than that one initial Flair and Hogan match until Savage showed up. Then you had Hogan and Savage on the same show, and it was like, oh shit, these dudes are fucking legit now. You got Hogan and Savage, because Savage had just come off of Raw being like the commentator, so you've seen him every week, and then all of a sudden there he is, the feud with Hogan again, which all of us remembered his fucking legendary feud during the Mega Power split and everything. So all of a sudden I think WCW really got legit whenever Savage went there.
That's another Vince McMahon huge mistake, was not letting Macho Man wrestle when he wanted to wrestle.
He was pushing the new generation, and he thought Savage looked too old.
There was times that he would cut promos. I'm like, this motherfucker gonna pass out? His fucking neck was just the veins and the fucking. Oh man!
Yeah, like his cream rises to the top promos, fucking legendary. Right, brings a little cream thing out and shit. Like
fucking Macho King era was fire.
Oh yeah. Sherry, the wedding was. The wedding, but that was still like a moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That time that him and Miss Elizabeth reunited after he lost that retirement match to the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania had grown men fucking crying in the crowd. Yeah. Grown fucking men are crying about that shit.
My favorite era of Randy is the 80s. You know, the attire, the 3 stars on the crotch, the fucking the flashy robes.
That was my favorite. That was my favorite Hasbro figure. You were always talking about Hasbro. I love that. It was so playable too. Like he had 2 arms that moved up and down. Classic Macho Man. I didn't like the Macho King one because he had those fucking things on his arms. You couldn't use him at all. Yeah, you couldn't use him at all.
His fucking legs was together too.
Yep, straight up.
And then he was doing that, slapping to his Slim Jim, that
classic shit, bro.
And then when he was in Spider-Man, I love that shit when he was Bonesaw. That was great too.
And his rap album against Hulk Hogan, where he's calling out Hulk Hogan the whole time.
Yeah. You know how many times I gave the elbow drop to my Ultimate Warrior wrestling buddy or to my cousins and shit? Like, just stay there, nigga. You're gonna get this. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, dog, he's a god to me. Like I said, my first memory in life was Randy Savage hitting Hogan with the championship at Saturday Night's Main Event in 1989. That's my first memory in life, period. So, Randy Savage, number 4, bro.
Yeah, that was my number 4. So,
so it goes all the way back to me to my number 4.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure nobody will have this one, so I'll go ahead and get into it. And ECW, I guess you would call him, and originally came in 99. It'd be Yoshihiro Tajiri.
Dog.
Tajiri.
The Japanese buzzsaw. I said that I based my wrestling on Chris Benoit. The other half was Tajiri. I did kicks. I was nicknamed like the American Buzzsaw because I did all the kicks that Tajiri did, and he was the number 1 dude that I would watch if I wanted to see a good match or just something that made me want to go out and wrestle. I'd watch him in Super Crazy. It was just on another level.
Dog.
I had never seen wrestling like that. I remember watching Living Dangerously 1999, and those 2 dudes were the second match on the card, and I'd never seen fucking wrestling like that. It was like the luchadors on WCW, but also with strikes, really hard strikes, because Tajiri would kick the shit out of people.
Tajiri had a match with Guido on Hardcore TV, fucking fire, bro.
One of my favorite ECW matches of all time is Steve Corino versus Tajiri, because Corino's bleeding so much. He puts him in the tree of woe and literally walks to the other side. And by the time he gets over there to fucking kick him, which takes maybe 5 seconds, there is a pool of blood hanging under fucking Steve Corino's head. He fucking stomps him through the table, and the table doesn't break in half. Steve Corino's body goes through the table. He stomps him so hard. The outline of Steve Corino's body is what goes through the table instead of it just snapping like normal. He just pressed him down through it. He kicked him so fucking hard with that double stomp.
I was a Muda mock. So when that nigga did the fucking green mist stuff, I was like, oh, man.
Did that back spring elbow. I'd never seen anything like that. The one where you throw him into the ropes, you do a handspring into it, come off with a fucking elbow. He could work so many good styles. Then he went to WWF and showed that he could work with the big dudes too. And I didn't think he would get over. I thought he'd be one of those ECW dudes, be around for 6 months, then he'd be on like, you know, Sunday Night Heat for a couple months, and then they'd fire him. But he got over. Like he had some charisma. He ended up being like William Regal's assistant when he was the commissioner. Then he had really good matches with there was a pay-per-view match that him and Taz got to have. I think it was at the very first Invasion pay-per-view, and that match is an ECW match in a WWF ring. One of the only times you ever get that. I just thought he did he really surprised me that he was able to stick around and get over in WWF, because I thought he was just somebody that was going to kind of lose himself whenever he got into the pool with the big fishes. But he went out there and proved that he could work with fucking giant WWF guys and be believable, because his kicks were so fucking good. Yes. You could believe those kicks would take down Big Show if you fucking hit him in the side of the head with one of them fucking things.
I seen him when he rocked the blue trunks and the white kick pads and shit. I seen that. Then it became the buzzsaw. Oh, this nigga's nasty, bro. Yeah,
the look kind of set him back whenever he was wearing the blue trunks and shit. That's what he looked like at Living Dangerously '99. Then, like, you know, a year later, he's like a bad guy all of a sudden. He's got like the fucking beard grown out. He's wearing those black pants that, like, whenever he would do a kick, he'd smack his fucking leg, and those fucking pants that he switched to made it sound like he was taking that dude's head off.
Dude's ill, man. Loves Jerry.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes that would have a good match with anybody, no matter who you put him in with, because he can work with anybody. And he's small, so a big guy can do anything to him, and he can do all of his moves to a big guy, because all it is kicking. Like, you can kick Andre the Giant just as well as you can kick Dolph Ziggler. You ain't got to be able to pick him up.
I'll have to go back and watch some of his other matches. I've seen, like, I know I've seen him before. It's just like I don't have like too much memory of him, you know.
Him and Carino's on YouTube. Definitely check that one out. That one's fucking all. I've probably watched that match 50 times.
That Hardcore Heaven 2000?
Yep.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was back whenever Carino was cutting the shit out of himself. We talked about Flair bleeding a lot. Carino was Ric Flair in 1999. He was cutting his fucking head off.
Carino, one of my favorites too. He had the fucking Dusty boots and shit. Yeah.
Yep. He fought Dusty in ECW that one time. Yep. That was dope.
Fire.
We're into the top 3 now.
Yep.
So my number 3 is Rey Mysterio Jr. The fucking 619 fucking dude. What, like, the whole run that he had with Eddie Guerrero, where Dominic was Eddie was Dominic's father and fucking all that shit. And then, like, when Eddie died and they gave Rey Mysterio that big push, and I think he won the Royal Rumble, and then he went on to win the championship at WrestleMania. Like, unfortunately, Rey never really had a good run with the belt, but he's had some really fucking good matches. The 619 is in my opinion, a really cool finishing move. He's really one of the first luchadors to really get over and like make lucha like popular in America.
Yep.
His match at Halloween Havoc with the purple suit, like
him and Guerrero. That's like
7, bro.
That's a top 5 match of all time.
Yeah. I love lucha like wrestling. Obviously, I've got Pentagon on my list as well. And Rey Mysterio pretty much epitomizes and is one of the best, you know.
His ECW work with Psychosis.
Yeah, that match too. Yeah, that because ECW is really the first one to give them a shot, to give lucha a shot in America. Yep. So yeah, Psychosis is another really cool WCW guy who you don't really hear talk about that much.
Had that leg drop off the top. That was dope. Psychosis, as they called him in ECW. Yeah. They used the Spanish pronouncement.
Yeah. Yeah, Rey Mysterio Jr. I mean, it's really cool to see him now wrestling with his son. I think they're tag team champs now, which is wild.
When I think of Mysterio, I go back to his WCW days. He's a 5. What is he? 5'5", 170 pounds.
That's really short. I hated when they took his mask off. I hated when they did that shit.
He's that small, and they let him go over on Kevin Nash. Yeah. Like he was somebody that could be that small and hang with like the giants. That's how good he was and believable. Before he got all those knee injuries, he was the moves that he would do. He'd do them so fluid and so quickly. They looked real. you didn't even really notice that his opponent was helping him with some of those things because he was doing it himself so perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, like I said, one of the best. I don't like when they took his mask off in WCW. I thought that was lame as fuck.
Yeah. Filthy Animals or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the heck it was. With who was he with? The
Conan.
Conan, but what was that dude's name that was in the flock? He was like the cruiserweight champ for a while in WCW.
Kidman?
Yeah, Kidman. Was in it too.
Yeah.
Billy Kidman was in it too. Yeah, that was kind of lame, but
ICP feuded with them when they were in WCW. Probably the best match that Shaggy ever had was whenever it's ICP and Vampiro versus Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and one of the other guys from the Filthy Animals. Yeah. It's a really good match. Yeah. That made me realize how good Eddie and Mysterio were if you watch them with Shaggy, because a lot of times if you watch like the other wrestlers like Lenny Lane or somebody, they wouldn't they didn't know how to place themselves in the right positions in the ring to take moves that Shaggy was doing, so it looked like it was really amateur. But with Mysterio and Guerrero, man, they knew where to be in the ring. They knew what Shaggy was trying to do, and it made it look so much better, and it's all them. It's nothing Shaggy's doing any different. It's Mysterio and Eddie knowing where to be in the ring. Perfect timing. Those two probably the best timing in the last 30 years in wrestling is Mysterio and Guerrero, and it shows in those matches. Whenever they're fighting people that aren't their level, they bring them up to their level, that's how you know somebody's really fucking good. That's what Bret Hart was known as being the best at.
Yeah, like Mysterio's also been wrestling since he was like 13 years old. You know what I mean? He's been in the game forever, so he's got that pedigree too. Yeah, my number 3, Rey Mysterio Jr.
Excellent. My number 3, the best there is, the best there was, the best there will be. Bret the Hitman Hart, bro. Instantly became a fan with the Hart Foundation. You know what I'm saying? Matches with Demolition, Nasty Boys. Even earlier than that, the Bulldogs. Great tag team with Jim Daniel Neidhart. Mm-hmm. Got his break in 1991. That fucking SummerSlam 91 match, bro.
Perfect.
Perfect and Bret.
That's a top 5 of all time, too.
Yes, the storytelling in that matchup. Phenomenal.
That's the one where, like, Perfect's, singlet gets ripped, right?
Yeah. And he got an afro and shit. Because he's so much.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Amazing. You know, Bret was just the innovator of, like, technical wrestling, like, even personifying it better than Flair or whoever may have you. You know, the dude was incredible. And
he also made the technical wrestling, like, flashy.
Yeah.
Like, he made it entertaining. Because sometimes you watch technical wrestling and, like, it's kind of boring to the average viewer.
Yeah.
But Bret made it flashy and made
it. Not like Mick Bockwinkel and shit.
He had that attitude. Like, it's always funny. I always remember him coming down the ring with his shades, and he'd go over to the crowd and give a little girl his shades or whatever the fuck. Like the ultimate baby face fucking move. You know what I mean?
He would take a body part and work on it, make it look real. Nowadays, the dude works on the arm and goes to the fucking leg. Like, you know, Bret was focused. You know?
Yeah, the storytelling that he did in the ring.
Yeah, incredible.
Talk about him like making normal things flashy. Nothing says that better than the way he would take a corner bump whenever somebody would have him in one side and whip him. He'd take it to the sternum, and it looked like it broke dude in half every time. I don't know how he never injured himself. And that's the other impressive thing about Bret Hart. All those matches he had, he never injured anybody ever. No. He's just precision in the ring. That's what he's most proud about, is he never injured anybody in the ring. And think of how many matches. I think he was I don't know if it's still true, but whenever he left, he was the dude that had the most matches in WWF history. And he had never injured anybody in the ring. It's fucking really easy to injure somebody in the ring. Have a bad night, or you don't even have to have a bad night. You can just be like D'Lo Brown and slip while you're fucking walking and paralyze somebody for life. And that dude never fucking hurt anybody, which is fucking hella impressive.
Oh yeah.
Because his shit always looked real. You'd think somebody that never hurt anybody, never touched anybody. But whenever he dropped somebody on his knee with that fucking backbreaker, it looked like he dropped him right on the point of his knee. He did it so crisp.
The Russian leg sweep.
Yep.
The figure four on the post, the fucking avalanche elbow drop.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, Bret is a god to me, bro. Like my first favorite wrestler other than Hogan and Warrior would be Bret back when I was a little kid, you know. And Finally became champion in '93 against Ric Flair. And I think Saskatoon, New York.
I was gonna say it's like a house. It was at a house show or something weird like that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. The matches with Owen, like fucking phenomenal. His heel work in '97 was just impeccable.
Yeah, without him, Stone Cold doesn't exist.
Facts. And it hurt me so bad that WCW did not know what the fuck to do with him because what a terrible run he had there.
Yeah, that was horrible. The one match that did stand out where you seen how good Bret Hart was that he had in WCW was the night after Owen died. Him and Benoit had that match on Nitro, and that's one of the best matches that Bret or Benoit ever had. You could tell they were going out of their way to try to make that fucking match really good, and they succeeded.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be here all night talking about Bret, so I'll just end it because the guy is a fucking god to me. So yeah.
I'm moving up to my 3 spot. Is the dude that always made me want to get the ECW pay-per-views because if this dude was on the bill, you knew it was going to be a fucking good match and it was probably going to last 30 minutes. Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
And talk about all the way back then, the first time I ever seen ECW, the match that stood out to me was him and Sabu versus Hayabusa and Akushi from Heatwave 98. And then you go from 98, he booked it pretty well when he threw fucking rolling papers at Vince McMahon when he got fucking inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's like, man, that's a nice bookend right there. So yeah, my 3 spot has got to be Rob Van Dam. His matches, I remember the hype around, I think it was a 2000 show. I can't remember which one it was. It was the one it took place in LA where they had the riot with XPW. So maybe Heatwave. But anyway, there was hype going around that week that RVD was going to debut a new finisher. And that was like the only thing the internet was talking about was what is his new finisher going to be. And then he debuted the Van Terminator where he fucking jumped from one side of the ring all the way to the one that Shane stole. And he was just that guy in ECW that always stood out. He had the television title for over 2 years. Only lost it because he broke his leg and had to give it up. Ended up winning the WWE title and ECW title in WWF. So he got to carry around like the ECW strap and the WWF strap after he beat Cena at that fucking one night only pay-per-view. Another one of my favorite events.
That shit was lit.
Hell yeah, they had that sign that said if Cena wins, we riot and shit. And they threw his shirt back at him and shit. Like, if Cena would have won, they would have fucking probably killed him. That crowd. But yeah, RVD always was like, he's Mr. ECW to me. And pretty much whenever he got injured, like I was telling about, and he had to give up the TV titles, when ECW pretty much had to fold because they didn't have a main eventer anymore. And ratings and buy rates and sponsors went way down.
Yeah.
He's a god.
Him and Jerry Lynn, another one of my favorite matches of all time.
Yeah.
So
I prefer.
Go ahead, brother.
I prefer Living Dangerously 99 over the rematch at Hardcore Heaven, but both of them are great.
Yeah. Me and my uncle would watch that shit on loop. Seriously. Seriously, because we recorded all the pay-per-views. You know? And they were cheap, like $20.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I still got most of my VHS tapes of ECW pay-per-views, and it's got like not only does it have the pay-per-view, it has like the hour-long thing that promotes it before the pay-per-view. So it's like shit that like, you know, I don't remember shit that was only seen on like the pay-per-view channel. So it's pretty dope to watch those. And it's got the real fucking music, unlike WWE Network, which kills ECW for me. I can't watch ECW.
Especially not Sandman. Like,
I know you got the Sandman coming out of some bootleg ass fucking Inner Sandman. Like that's the one theme that Vince should have been like, I'm gonna pay for that one. And then they got like the super cheap like Dr. Dre sounding fucking beat for New Jack when he comes out.
Yeah, it's so cheap.
Yeah, like I can't watch ECW on the network. It's ruined without the music.
actually comes out to break the walls down on WCW matches.
Yeah, instead of like the even flow fucking sounding we had. That's what I liked about WCW. Like at least whenever they did bootleg fucking songs, like it sounded good. Like DDP sounded like fucking Smells Like Teen Spirit. Raven came out to one. I can't remember what the fuck it was.
Come As You Are.
Come As You Are. That's what it was. And they all sounded fucking really good. And then WWF tries to make like bootleg sounding shit for the network, and it sounds like they fucking spent $4 on it.
It's like that royalty-free music that YouTube gives you.
Straight up, yeah. Vince is on there searching copyright-free music.
God, it's so bad.
Nirvana type beat.
All right, top 2. My number 2 was actually literally just mentioned, Chris Jericho.
Oh shit,
the man. Dude's reinvented himself so many times. I've never seen anybody reinvent themselves so many times and have huge success every single fucking time. Like when he first came to WWE and they had that countdown and he came out in the middle. He came out in the middle of the Rock talking and shit and got over. People were going crazy for Jericho at that time. Like, and then when he did the friendship shit with Kevin Owens and the list, and then when he did the Painmaker in Japan.
Yeah.
And now he's doing the Inner Circle stuff. When he dressed up as Pentagon at All In and attacked, oh man, just so good too. It's kind of he's got kind of like that Bret Hart wrestling style where he's technical, but he manages to make it a little bit flashy, with this the Lionheart and fucking he's always reinventing his finishing moves and shit. Like so good.
I'm a Jericho mark as well. Like the springboard dropkick and all that flash shit. Yeah.
I remember my favorite era Jericho was WCW Monday Night Jericho era. Whenever he was just first turned into a heel,
he had the security guard, whatever the fuck the dude's name was.
Ralphus.
And he's like the part where he's like trying to find the ring and he's like opening doors and like, oh, where's the
He was the man of 1,004 hoes because Dean Malenko was the man of 1,000 hoes, and he read the whole. He had literally a list, a scroll that he let fall out, and he read them throughout a break on commercial even. So like the fans that were during the commercial got to hear them all.
Oh, he's done a podcast about that, and this is what's funny about that is he does he does arm drag, body slam, arm drag. Then when they went to commercial. I guess they were in Chicago. And so during commercial, he goes, oh, Chicago teams suck. Like he's pissing off the crowd. When the cameras come back, everybody's booing the fuck out of him. And then he starts reading it again. And everybody thinks he's booing because of that.
That's fucking dope. Yeah, that's somebody that knows how to work. That's a professional, knows how to work a crowd. Yeah. I remember he took Hoovie's mask. He beat Hoovie and he had to unmask. So he wore his mask around his neck. He beat Prince IK and he called him Prince Nakamaki. So whenever he beat him, he took like his floral wrap that he wore around his waist. He kept getting he would collect like souvenirs from all the people he beat. He called people by the wrong name. That shit was always funny.
Yeah, he had that always really good on the mic. And he, like I said, he has a real like mind for like wrestling in general. Like what's going to get over, what's best for him, and the way he's, like I said, the way he's able to always reinvent himself and like always get over every time, and people buy into it every time, which is like you can't always do that, But he manages to pull it off every time.
Oh yeah,
and has really good matches. Always one of those dudes that the match is going to be good whenever you see he's in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my number 2.
Oh yeah. My number 2, he gets hated on a lot. I don't give a fuck. He's a god to me. Childhood hero. The Ultimate Warrior.
Oh.
Ultimate Warrior, bro.
I thought he was going to be your number 1, so now I'm interested.
The promos, bro. Like, come on. I love him. Childhood hero out the gate. There's pictures of me rocking Ultimate Warrior hats and shit when I was like 7, like 1990 was like, there you go, bro. Hell yeah.
He was a superhero. I was in the comic books and I was into wrestling, and all of a sudden a fucking superhero out of a comic stepped into a wrestling ring.
Yeah. Yeah. Jack the shit. Really stiff to.
He's also one of the few wrestlers who, like, I remember there's like all these like urban legends. Like, oh, there's been like 4 Ultimate Warriors, and one of them
died.
One of them had his arm straps too tight, and he died, and shit. Like, there's all these like crazy stories about Ultimate Warrior. Where you're like,
I think the thing that really made him a hero to like kids in that era was whenever he came in and beat the Honky Tonk Man in like 45 seconds. The Honky Tonk Man was one of those annoying heels that everybody hated, and he'd had the belt forever. He'd been the Intercontinental Champion for a long fucking time. And then all of a sudden, the Ultimate Warrior's music hits. He runs in, fucking shoulder blocks him. Fucking that title reign's over, and fucking Warrior's Intercontinental Champion. All the kids are like, fuck yeah.
Shaking the ropes, all that fly shit, bro. Like
Ultimate Warrior, though, I also think is the perfect example of why this is favorite and not best. Because Ultimate Warrior wasn't the best wrestler, but he like had that like presence and charisma that we talked about.
You know, Hogan carried him, Savage carried him, but when he wanted to work, he could fucking work. Watch the matches, you know. SummerSlam '92 against Savage as well.
Him and Savage had a good chemistry together, and Rick Rude was his best feud. I got to see a house show in Evansville in that era, and it was Ultimate Warrior in a cage match, and it was supposed to be Rick Rude, and somehow Rick Rude like got out of the match, and it ended up being like, I think it was Shawn Michaels that took over because Sherry was out there, and Sherry was interrupting in the steel cage match, and he caught her and fucking ripped all of her fucking clothes off, like she was down to like a thong. And this is like, 1991, 90, something like that. And I'm like, oh my God. So he just fucking ripped all his bitch's clothes off with one hand. It's like, this dude's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
They were nuts at a house show, for sure. Like, you've seen all kinds of shit at a house show that you didn't see, like on Raw or even Primetime Wrestling back then.
The Gorilla Press, the fucking splash in the back. Fucking a god to me, like I said. All the action figures, the Hasbros I had. His second Hasbro was my favorite with the Gorilla Press action.
The first one was one of those whack ones that had his legs together. I hated that one. Yeah. The second one was dope as fuck. The one with the white gear. It had the fucking Hogan press. Too. Yeah, that was dope. You like press on him and his fucking arms go like that. Shit.
I got that too in pristine condition as well.
Oh shit, that's one of I think that's the hardest Warrior to find because there wasn't a lot being printed back whenever they were doing like the updates and shit.
Yup, Jim Helwig all day, bro.
Those green card Hasbros are fucking ridiculous.
I got a lot of Hasbros, and that's ones I will never have. I got Yoko, but he had the black pants, not the white. But
yeah, and it's not like it's Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon that you're not getting. It's like Ludwig Borga and the Smoking Guns and some. The 1, 2, 3 Kid's cool. I'd fuck with the 1, 2, 3 Kid if I could. That one's dope.
I would love to have Kid, man. But number 2, Ultimate Warrior, bro. Like he's a god to me. You know, I don't give a fuck about his work rate.
Hey, we ain't even mentioned the theme music, the perfect theme music for him.
My favorite theme music of all time. Ultimate Warrior's theme music.
I'll move it up to my 2-spotter dude that has some pretty good theme music himself. We already talked about him, so we ain't got to go over too much. Stone Cold Steve Austin. He has to be on my list. Yeah. He pretty much redefined wrestling whenever wrestling got super boring.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing that I know that I've got like a personal connection with is I was at the May 97 Raw where him and Shawn Michaels won the tag titles from Davey Boy Smith and Owen Hart. Yeah. So I got to witness live Stone Cold win his first ever championship in WWF.
Yeah. That's dope.
And he was so over. Like he was so over then. Shawn Michaels was his tag partner, and Shawn Michaels was the most popular guy that past summer. And Shawn Michaels getting booed out of the building, and Stone Cold is getting fucking all the love. Like it's nothing but fucking Austin 316 shirts. And they don't ever show it on like the on the broadcast or whatever, but whenever they go to break or whatever, Austin would just be going fucking crazy, like flicking people off. He'd be like trying to get he'd grab the ref and tell him he tagged him and try to get in, and he wouldn't do it. He'd go over there and ask the people, and they'd fucking respond, and he'd fucking just literally put his fucking middle finger right in the ref's face like that. And then they'd come back and they'd be back to like regular fucking Austin. But it was fucking super dope seeing him win his first ever championship in WWF.
Fuck yeah.
That Raw is arguably one of the best Raws ever. It had the debut of Brian Pillman in the ring. It had him and Jim Neidhart fought the Road Warriors. It had Ahmed Johnson versus Vader. It had Goldust versus Jerry Lawler. It had Rocky Maivia versus Two Cold Scorpio, and it had Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin versus Davey Boy Smith, and Owen Hart.
Too Cool Scorpio is like very, very underrated. Like I've actually seen him wrestle like in person. That guy is fucking crazy. He still wrestles. He's fucking crazy. Like he was like he wrestled too early. Like Too Cool Scorpio had like those like new indie moves where like you're doing flips and shit. Too Cool Scorpio was doing that way back.
I was watching that dude. He was with Bagwell and shit.
Bagwell, yeah, him and Bagwell was a team in WCW.
But what I was gonna say about Stone Cold, I forgot to mention this when I talked about him earlier. There's a clip online on YouTube. It's like the biggest pop in WWE history or something shit like this. Biggest pop you'll ever see. And it's like I don't know what's going on, but there's like a brawl in the ring. There's like
it's when Mankind wins the world title for the first time ever.
And all of a sudden, everybody hears the grass break, and Stone Cold comes down the ring. The crowd fucking goes crazy. Like I talked about the DDP thing. This is like 10 times that. People are like jumping out of their seats.
They're jumping the whole time. Like the crowd's just doing this the whole time. Like it's not just one. It's not just whenever his music hits. It's like the whole time.
It's so wild, bro. Like
and he does that Austin walk down to the fucking ring, picks up a steel chair, hits it on the ring, and then fucking hits the Rock with it, and then out he goes.
It was a fuck you to WCW because that's the night when Shivani was like, make Mankind's gonna win the belt tonight. See how much asses that puts. Something like that. He said.
Yeah,
that was so wild, man. That was
the guy that used to wrestle here is Cactus Jack. I've learned is gonna win the world title on Raw tonight. Wow, that's gonna put a lot of ass in the seats. And whenever he said that, like 150,000 viewers went over to Raw to see the best fucking ovation of all time.
Yeah, that shit was wild, bro. Like the crowd just went absolute. Like if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. Like. It's like people are practically like stage diving. Like people are.
Yeah, they're moshing.
Yeah, it's so wild. It's so crazy. It's so
straight
wild.
Up.
That's that. Like man, that was the height of wrestling right there. That was when the pops were pops, bro. Like crazy. Like they didn't have to bring in. They didn't have to bring in crowd noises back then. The crowd was
the signs. Wild. The signs were ridiculous then. Everybody had like 4 of them. I remember taking a sign to like the 97 Raw that I was talking about, and there might have been like 200. You fast forward to what we're talking about in that era where Austin comes out of that pop, and there's fucking like everybody in the fucking thing has like one in each hand. Like all you can see is fucking signs everywhere.
I always marked out when I saw like a psychopathic sign or like ICP. I'd be like, oh shit.
That was the majority of the time that appeared, that was Jump Steady and fucking Tom Dubb. That was their job. They went to fucking wrestling and represented the Hatchet Man.
That makes it a little bit less dope, but still. It's like you think, like, oh, it's just a fan, bro. It's a juggalo out there. And you're like, oh, it's just psychopathic out there. Still cool.
Yeah, that's what that they were talking about that on like Road Stories or something. That was one of their jobs is Tom Dubb and fucking Jump Steady would go to fucking wrestling televised events and hold up psychopathic shit.
All right, number one.
The drum roll.
Yeah. All right. Mine's already been talked about. Undertaker. That's the dude. That's that dude. Like growing up, like loving horror movies. Obviously, we're into ICP. The horror aspect. Like his wrestling was crazy. Like Undertaker. Managed to last like all this time. Like he's basically timeless, bro. This dude has wrestled like forever.
He's another dude that we talked about Jericho always evolving. He always kept his character interesting by changing up pieces of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The casket matches, the fuck did they call those matches? Bury him alive or whatever the fuck they called buried alive, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Crazy. When he lost and his hand fucking came out the fucking ground and shit.
That's him and Mankind.
Yeah. Even his match against AJ Styles, like that what do they call it? The graveyard match or whatever the fuck they called it. That was dope too. Like even though it's not like a conventional match, it was still a lot of fun to see.
I remember a really dope match with him and Jeff Hardy. That was a ladder match on Raw. It really made Jeff Hardy. He went from being a Hardy Boy tag team dude to being like a main eventer. He didn't win, but like Undertaker gave him enough in that match that people thought he was going to win there for a little bit, and it really established Jeff Hardy as somebody that wasn't just a tag wrestler. He was a main event singles guy.
Taker, come back, Taker.
Yeah, and then
just voiced that night.
I thought you were doing Paul Bearer's voice there for a second, bro.
Google it. It's funny as fuck. It's on
YouTube. Yeah, Paul Bearer was also like a really nice like manager for him, and the fucking urn and all that shit. And they bring it out, and the light would come out of the fucking urn and all that shit. Like
he always had those dope WrestleMania entrances too. Like come out in a hearse, and there's that one time there was like a bunch of hands trying to grab him from coming up from under the fucking ramp, like zombie hands and shit. Like he always had super dope entrances too.
Which was also like when Undertaker came out from underneath the ring, like would reach up out from under the ring and climb into the fucking ring and shit,
or pull somebody under. That was always dope too.
Yeah. Yeah, we already talked about him a little bit earlier, but I had to put him probably like. This list was a little bit weird to make because it was like, how do I weigh like my current favorites versus like all-time favorites? And so it was kind of like, you know, but yeah. What you got, Mikey? Number one, sir.
Number one for me is the greatest wrestler to ever live. I'm talking about the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Oh, yeah.
That's my number one as well.
Hell yeah. Dog, since fucking 90. The Rockers, how the Rockers mark, you know, 92, the fucking kick at the barbershop, you know what I'm saying? Like, when he was Shawn Michaels with Sherry, I love that era, you know?
Yo.
Shit. Shawn Michaels has left the building and all that shit. Like,
yo.
Man. And a Continental title run, he beats Bulldog, fucking gets Diesel as a bodyguard. You know the whole story. He's the fucking GOAT in my eyes. 1996. WrestleMania 12, winning the championship for the first time. Iron Man
match. Hell yeah.
My favorite wrestling match of all time is that. Fucking, oh man, fantastic run he had in 96. 97, the X Foams. My favorite fucking version of the Generation X is with Rude and Chyna and Hunter. Coming back in 02, just in-ring work increased.
That match he had coming back with Triple H at SummerSlam. It was like a 45-minute match. You ain't seen the dude wrestle in 5 years, and all of a sudden he's back and he's fucking doing like hardcore ECW shit.
Hell yeah. The fucking kip up, everyone loves that shit. Michaels is the fucking GOAT, bro.
Yeah, when he rode, when he flew down to the ring with that like that glider fucking thing, that shit was fucking dope.
WrestleMania 12.
Yeah, that's the Iron Man match. Yep.
Yeah. WrestleMania 12 was one of my favorites because that was also the Roddy Piper fucking backyard brawl Gold Dust match we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Like, WrestleMania 12, one of my favorites.
You just talk about WrestleMania, Mr. WrestleMania. You knew no matter how whack the card was or who was on the main event that shouldn't have been there, you knew that Shawn Michaels was on the fucking card, that you were going to have a 45-minute match you were going to enjoy. Jericho and Michaels was fucking phenomenal at WrestleMania.
Oh, man.
Jericho, Michaels and Flair's last match, that was phenomenal. Two with Undertaker.
I love you.
Yeah, the Michaels match.
He kicks the shit out of him, too.
I love
Flair told him, too. He's like, if this is going to take me out of my career, kick the fuck out of him. And he did.
Doesn't he say, like, I love you or some shit like that?
He's like, I'm sorry, I love you. Boom.
Yeah. So good.
Something like that.
Yeah, so good.
And then he even had a good match with he would have good matches with Vince McMahon just because that Michaels, like I was talking about earlier with Rey Mysterio and Guerrero being so good in the ring. Shawn Michaels was the same way. Like you could take even a Vince McMahon and he could have a good match with Shawn Michaels.
The fucking GOAT in my eyes, bro.
I love I always liked the early look when he was with Sherry, where he had those round like glasses like this and shit.
Yeah. That's the Hasbro, my favorite Hasbro of all time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he had like the mullet going and shit.
Yeah, the tattoo, all that fly shit.
Yeah.
Like, can't forget about him and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania either.
Oh my god,
that match was phenomenal.
I was a senior in high school and we talked about that match all day. Classic, bro.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was the thing about the Mr. WrestleMania catchphrase is very appropriate because once he retired, like WrestleMania lost a lot of its luster to me because that 5-star match was no longer guaranteed to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. It was my favorite, man. Since after the fucking Warrior, it was Michaels for me. Well, Brett, then Shawn. Shawn became my favorite like in '95. You know, after Sid powerbombed him. You can have the night off.
Yep.
Yeah. That era was amazing. And that match with Jeff Jarrett at In Your House was amazing.
Him and Mankind at Mind Games. Another really good one.
Oh, man. Hell yeah. Sean jumps up to the chair and fucking kicks Mankind. Oh, my God.
The majority of wrestlers had their best match with Shawn Michaels if they had a match with Shawn Michaels on a pay-per-view, because he would go out of his way. And we already talked about the first ever Hell in a Cell. Also that casket match with Undertaker in '98.
Yep.
Those casket matches were always so dope. All right, let's talk about a little bit about like people were surprised didn't make lists, and all like right away I'm surprised nobody had Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Well, he's gonna be an honorable mention whenever we do that. So.
Yeah. Eddie Guerrero. Yeah, I mean, I guess we go on honorable mentions because it's all people we probably had on our list. Eddie Guerrero. The other one I had on my list, but I ended up taking him off was Mick Foley.
Yeah, he's up there. Me, Benoit, Jericho, Guerrero, Triple H, The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock is the other one I was surprised wasn't on anybody's list either.
Motherfucking Drake Muda. I'm a Muda Mark. Steve Carino. Jerry Lynn.
Jay Lynn. Yeah. Speaking of Carino and Lynn, Jerry Lynn versus Steve Carino is fucking awesome when he writes "die" on his fucking chest with blood.
Jerry Lynn would do fucking like death metal growls and shit when he did promos.
Straight up. Yeah, it's like catchphrase. He would be like, the way he ended his promo, he'd be like, "And I'm Jerry Lynn."
Yeah. He's fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, Sabu.
Taz would get an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, he would. New Jack, bro. Definitely for me.
The one I took off my list, I actually replaced him with Chris Benoit, was Vader. I think he's the best big man.
God. Jesus Christ.
I'll watch any Vader in New Japan match because there's about a 50-50 chance he's really going to fuck somebody up.
Owen Hart for me. His in-ring ability was so smooth.
Owen Hart.
I
had a couple modern guys. AJ Styles.
Fuck yeah.
Kenny Omega. Actually, I told Mike this before we started. I had somebody at my number 10. I was going to put him at number 10 because I was like kind of like honorable. Like I was like, I don't know if they really count ICP. Because like I was going to put them on there because every time they were on, I fucking marked out. You know what I mean? Like if they were going to be on WCW, I was watching that shit. Like I was going to be there in front of my TV watching. I was going to record it, the whole thing. So I was going to kind of cheat and put them on there. But after I put my list together, I was like, man, I can't put them on. I can't put them on.
Especially if you add in the indie stuff they were doing. Like I was talking about the Hector Hatchett and Sewer Dweller matches. Those are fucking really, 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 really good matches and way better than anything they ever did on WCW, WWF.
Yeah.
I got Sean Waltman. I love all his gimmicks.
Yeah. I had Sabu.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! You kidding me?
Yeah. So I didn't have any Japanese guys on my actual list, but Okada, Kota Ibushi, Tanahashi. I had all those guys just like runner.
Tanahashi's fucking ill.
Yeah.
Okada and Nakamura would be near my top 10 list, but I haven't seen enough of them compared to the guys that are on my list. That's why I didn't have any of them on there. Nakamura is why I started liking New Japan. Like I had the Access channel or whatever, and I would record New Japan while I was at work, and I'd come back, and then the Nakamura match was always the one that I fucking would gravitate to when I watched the replay. So much so that you could look at the little preview on like the TV Guide channel, and if Nakamura wasn't on it, I'd delete it. And I ended up having like 100 fucking New Japan things saved that were all Nakamura matches because he was having all those classic matches back then, and they were coming on TV. Like the ones with Tanahashi, the ones with fucking Omega, they were playing them on fucking Access. So I was like, holy shit.
That is like superb wrestling right there.
Yeah, he had that strong style that we were talking about when we first started. He had that like beat the shit out of you style. Or
I got Dynamite Kid and Davey. I got Bulldog up there definitely.
I always liked Psycho Sid just because I thought he was fucking crazy. Like he also had that like presence and fucking insane looking.
And I got a guy that people don't like. I got Lex Luger, bro. I'm a Luger mom. I love Lex. You know.
I liked like Four Horsemen Lex for sure.
Oh yeah, I like Narcissus Lex.
I didn't like 97 Lex, like face Lex. That
WCW.
Oh yeah.
I didn't really care about him then because.
What do they call it? The American. What did they call that thing that they did across America? Where
Lex Express.
Yeah, the Lex Express. Oh god.
Yeah.
Shit was fucking hilarious, bro.
I love Lex. I mean,
I dug his finisher. That thing's hard to fucking do.
Torture rack.
Yeah,
the torture rack. Yeah.
The thing I always think about whenever I think about Lex is when the announcers would always talk about the metal plates that he had in his arm. He has a metal plate in the ring, and like
straight up,
and, like hit him with the fucking.
You can't forget the fucking Super Brawl Saturday, bro. Come on, classic. I don't know. That fucking in your t-shirts are too tight, Billy. I don't know. I'm pissed now. That's classic.
Yes.
Do you remember when him and Bagwell were teaming, and it was right at the end of WCW, and
it was terrible.
And they made them job to the New Blood, and Lex and Bagwell didn't think they should job, but they did job. But what they did in protest is they laid in the ring. They didn't get out of the ring. They act like they were like, well, we're going to job these fuckers. We're going to put it over like they fucked us up really good. And they laid in the ring till the next match came out in protest.
Yo, I got Raven too, bro.
Raven, yeah.
ECW Raven was crazy.
Yeah.
I always liked Raven till he got in the ring. Then once he got in the ring, it kind of went down a little bit for me. He wasn't ever the greatest in the ring.
Kind of like his drop toe hold to the chair. It's pretty fire.
Yeah,
I
always like Vampiro.
I love Vampiro.
I love Vampiro. I kind of wanted to put him on my list, but I'm like, I can't really put him over these people.
Bam Bam Bigelow, I always dug him.
Bam, yeah.
Rick Steiner, since I mentioned Scott Steiner, him and fucking Rick as a tag team. I was watching a New Japan match, and they're facing just like they're like probably 275-pound Japanese dudes that have no idea what the Steiners are telling them they're going to do to them. And one of the Japanese dudes picks Rick Steiner up on his shoulders like he's going to do the Doomsday Device to him, and I think that's what they're trying to do. But Rick Steiner is so fucking stout and strong in these days that the fucking Japanese dude jumps off to fucking clothesline him. He catches him in a suplex and throws him over his head from dude's shoulders. Like he did it 100% on his own. Yeah. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in wrestling. Like he caught this dude in midair while sitting on somebody else's shoulders and then flipped him over his head in a suplex.
Think about the strength of the dude that's holding him up, though. Like to stay stationary fucking while he grabs him and flips him. Like that's crazy.
He didn't know it was coming.
Yeah.
He was just falling down with it. He was falling down like you would with a Doomsday Device.
Oh, like, okay. He fell down.
And Steiner called him and fucking threw that motherfucker.
Yeah. Two other guys I had are two of my they're modern favorites. That's probably why I didn't put them on. Nick Gage and John Moxley. Like John Moxley, in my opinion, going right now is one of the he's like one of the hottest guys wrestling right now.
I love AEW, man.
Yeah. And then Nick Gage doing it. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Nick Gage's feud with Matt Cardona, but it's fucking gold. Have you guys seen any of that?
I haven't.
Oh my god, bro! I think it was at the Tournament of Pain. It just happened like 2 weekends ago. A guy comes in, a hooded figure comes in during Nick Gage is like at the end. Nick Gage is in the ring. Hooded figure comes into the ring, and like he comes in and you can't see who it is, and he starts doing the John Moxley wobble. Kicks them, does the paradigm shift, gets up. The crowd's going fucking crazy. He comes up, takes his mask off. It's Matt Cardona. Crowd starts chanting, "Fuck Zack Ryder."
That's awesome.
He goes and gets Nick Gage's belt. It's like holding the Kent. Like, oh man, it was.
Damn, that's awesome. Hell yeah.
That's heel heat to the extreme, man. Like, I can't wait for that match with Nick Gage and Matt Cardona. Like, it's funny, like looking forward to a Zack Ryder match, but like Nick Gage and him, that's gonna be so dope, man. I'm so excited for that match. Like, that's like, and like they're going back and forth online, and it's what I love about the indies. It's like I talked about this earlier, like them being able to tell a story, like the way they want to sell it, the way they want to do it, building the heat over through different different ways and stuff. Like, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I was hoping whenever Matt Cardona got on the indie scene, he was gonna bring out something different, but he just came back to like AEW, TNA as basically Zack Ryder, just with a different name. So it's cool to see him as a heel, because I think he could get a pretty good heel reaction from. There's a lot of people that don't like him because of how like much attention he got from his YouTube show and shit like that, and the people think he's like a WWE guy. He's not like an indie guy. He's never he just went basically straight from training to being a WWF guy. So the indie crowd not gonna like him. So it'd be fun to see him as a heel. Hopefully he like gets into it and does it well.
Oh, yeah. Dude, you have to see that clip then, because it's so funny, because everybody's like, yeah, John Moxley, Mox. And because you know how Moxley does that like weird thing where he's going like this? He starts doing that. Matt Cardona starts doing that. And Nick Gage turns around, paradigm shift. Everybody's going fucking wild. Oh, my gosh, bro.
That's dope. Hell
it's
yeah.
one of the coolest things I've seen in wrestling in a while. Like, Probably since Jericho dressed up as Pentagon in the ring. That shit was dope too.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think that I don't think there's anybody else that I had on my list. I think I said Mick Foley. Mick Foley was somebody I was surprised wasn't on anybody's list either.
Yeah, he almost made mine.
What was that?
He almost made mine. I love Foley.
Yeah. I thought it'd be funny to put like Cactus Jack, Dude Love, man.
What's your favorite incarnation of Foley?
Oh, Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack is just it's on another level. Yeah.
I like Dude Love. I was a Dude Love mark. I had the shirt, which now goes for like $400. I remember buying that shirt like back in the day.
That Raw when he debuted as Austin's like, what the?
Yeah.
I love it.
The Royal Rumble where he came out as Dude Love, Mankind,
98.
Cactus Jack. Oh, that was so good.
The shit with Austin though, where like he's getting beat up by Bulldog and Owen, and like you see his like foot tapping on the screen and shit.
Yeah.
He's like, now I know you didn't want to team up with that weirdo Cactus Jack, but you never said anything about teaming up with Dude Love.
And then there was also, I think it was when he the match with The Rock when he did the I Quit match, and
where he got hit with all those chairs.
Oh, yeah, but when he put the mic down, it was a fake I Quit. You remember that shit? Like he took sound from somewhere else. That whole thing was fucking dope to me.
Took it from Sunday Night Heat when he was saying, "You'll never make me say I quit, Rock." Yeah. And they took that. Yeah, that's the match that he took like 15 chair shots in.
Yeah, that was brutal, man. That was brutal.
No fucking way.
Yeah,
because they were unprotected. Like his hands were handcuffed, so he wasn't even able to do anything to protect himself. He was just taking that shit. His head looked like fucking hamburger when he got done.
It was terrible.
I was close to put Cody Rhodes on my list too, only because like that match that he had with Dustin Rhodes, like
the most improved wrestler of probably all time to me.
Yeah, like that Bloody Brothers match that they had. Oh,
I went from not liking Cody that much to just loving him.
Yeah,
dude's so dope to me now.
He was boring as fuck in WWE. He was just boring. He didn't do anything.
Nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he always talks about how much he hated it. Like that was one of the things he did when he left. Is he was like he hated that Stardust bullshit that they had him doing there. Oh, it's terrible. And
that AEW video game looks fucking fire. I seen it today. Darby Allin and shit. Oh man, and Ukes is doing it. Yeah. You know the guys that worked on fucking the classic N64 joints.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Those 64 games still haven't been topped.
Oh, the greatest wrestling games ever made. Yeah, I got all of them in boxed. Oh,
World Tour. This is my favorite right here. WCW NWO Revenge.
That's my number 2 after No Mercy.
No Mercy for me. Yep.
Yeah.
Because they had the best like creator wrestlers and the most moves and shit. WrestleMania 2000 was pretty much the same thing. Just
fire.
No Mercy was updated.
Yeah, I think let's see. Did I have anybody? Oh, I already had Scott Hall. We talked about Scott Hall and shit. Yeah. You guys got any other honorable mentions you thought of?
Nash.
Diesel, Nash.
I'm a Nash fucking mark. So.
Yeah, him and Hall were like the perfect tag team. Like they just work so well together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned New Jack. I always made sure I watched anything New Jack did, so he's got to at least get a mention on there because you never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
His promos are fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, I mean, the main reason I remember him so much is because I I said before, I used to watch ECW like on the weekends, like through some syndication bullshit. And I always remember New Jack because I remember him coming down to the ring with the fucking shopping cart and just fucking throwing the whole shit in the goddamn ring. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is wild, bro.
He had that guitar filled with powder, so whenever he hit him with it, the powder would go everywhere.
Yeah. Shit.
I remember the one that was crazy. The craziest one I remember is he had a vacuum in there, and you know how he would do that thing where he'd take a street sign and lay it over the dude's like dick and shit, and then he'd hit it with the fucking. He'd hit it with the golf club. He did that, but with the fucking vacuum. And whenever he swung it, I think it was Tom. I want to say it's Tommy Dreamer that took it, but whoever it was that was taking it, like whenever New Jack swung the fucking vacuum, they put their legs together trying to protect their nuts. So when they did, the base of the vacuum just exploded on their kneecaps. I was like, oh my god, that had to fucking hurt.
Yes.
That's like if it was Tommy Dreamer, he's used to that shit. I'm sure y'all heard the story about whenever Jerry Lawler hit him with the kendo stick.
Yeah, he's like a couple of cc's of blood came out my nuts, something like that.
That night that Lawler invaded ECW Arena, he hit him with a kendo stick shot and hit him for real, and it made his fucking balls swell up to like 8 times the size, and he had that blood drained out of him.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Me and Jerry Lawler would have beef for the rest of my life after that. It'd be on as soon as I see him.
Oh gosh. Oh god. All right. Well, I think that was our top
we'll
10.
leave y'all with that tasty story.
Next week, I think the next episode will be on Fago Lovers channel. It'll be top 5 merch that's come out. ICP, obviously anything underground. 8 o'clock, Fago Lovers YouTube channel. Mike, you want to plug your shit?
Mike says _speaking clout on Instagram, supervillain85, like you spell supervillain group on Psychopathic on Twitter. Saturdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, Speak Clout Podcast. UFCD coming back in July, Studio 17. And of course, Goons Clout Gallery, bitch. You already know.
Every Thursday, 8 o'clock.
Every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, yeah.
Joker's Gallery, what you got?
You check out some documentaries if you haven't ever seen the Juggalo ones I've done. A few of them features Mr. Mike Sears, got 20 and 19, the story of Jake and Jack. I just noticed that hit the 17,000 view mark the other day. You've got 20 and 20, the bizarre story, 20 and 17, the whole 20-plus hour documentary of ICPs up there to listen to. It's on YouTube, but it's just audio. It used to be a podcast, and then Speaker wanted to get paid to have that much fucking data on their shit, so we just moved it over to the YouTube. So if you didn't get to listen to 20 and 17, it's on there. It's on the Fago Lovers YouTube. Dirtmentary and Biscuitmentary on my page, Joker's Gallery on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
All right, yeah. Loot the Goon, you're already here. Loot the Goon everywhere. UndergroundCatacombs.com. Come join us for the underground freshness. And we'll see you guys again next Thursday, 8 o'clock. Fago Lovers.